If you want to talk about who's going to be the next Raiders quarterback, you are in the right place. I'm Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report, and we go live every single Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's not a secret. The Las Vegas Raiders need to be able to find their future at quarterback. Even though some people might argue it's Aiden O'Connell, I think we can all agree that Aiden is not the franchise quarterback that this team and organization wants moving forward. You're going to move on from Gardner Minshew. You're probably going to move on from Aiden O'Connell. You can look at some options in the draft. You can look at some options in free agency. You can even look at a few options via trade. If you want to talk about quarterbacks, you are in the right place, because I'm telling you this right now. We're going to talk about Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr. I can't even believe we're talking about Derek Carr again. But then, because of all of these rumors out there, and you're going to hear the Raiders' name being brought up, because not only do we need a quarterback, you got Tom Brady, you got Pete Carroll. People are going to be looking for headlines out there. But because the Raiders are looking for a QB, and because I think everybody feels this is a bad situation to be in from a quarterback standpoint, one of the segments I'm going to do here on today's live show is this. I'm going to convince everybody watching that the Raiders are a great landing spot for any quarterback that might hit free agency. If you want to shout out here on today's show, let me see who you're rocking with. Let me know if you could pick between these three quarterbacks right here, because I would say these are probably the top three quarterbacks on the free agent market as it stands right now. It is Russell Wilson, it is Justin Fields, it is Sam Darnold. And when you look at a lot of the moves that the Raiders have already made this offseason, I think it indicates that they are going to bring in at least a bridge quarterback. Doesn't mean that they're not going to draft someone. I'm somebody that believes they're not only going to sign, but they're also going to draft a quarterback this offseason. So, let's see what we got here. Yoda Jenkins, shout out to the MVP of the month of February. I see Justin Fields from Rich Black, Russell Wilson from Mutation, Sam Darnold from Justin. I mean, there's three different answers right off the jump. G Money's going to go with Wilson. Jorge says Fields. Sam Darnold from Israel. I mean, there you go again. It's just an insane thing. I will tell you this. Sam Darnold's probably going to be the one that's the most expensive. I would imagine somewhere around $25 to $35 million a year. For a guy like Justin Fields, I think that number is going to be a little bit closer to $10 to $15 million a year. For Russell Wilson, I think that contract is going to be closer to $15 to $25 million per year. So if you want to spend a little bit more, you go get Darnold. If you want to go the cheaper route, it could be Justin Fields. I will talk about two of these quarterbacks, or technically one of these quarterbacks, very, very heavily here on today's show. Again, if anybody wants to get those questions, comments flowing in, we already got 675 people tuned into the Raiders Report right now. My guy Ron Raspberry, Rebel Montana, let's get those likes up here a little bit. But if you want to get your questions, your comments on the show, you can use hashtag Raiders, or you can skip the line with the Super Chat. And we always say Super Chat is a lot like a Disney Fast Pass, if you will. If you don't want to wait in line, you want to get to the front, I promise you we're going to get you to the front of the line. If you bang, you already know we're going to get you on the show ASAP, flipping Rocky. Appreciate everyone tuning in. I do got to give a shout out to our sponsor here, Panda Subs. I need some nootropics, and the Super Bowl kicked my butt on Sunday. Can we all agree that America needs to give the Monday after the Super Bowl, that day needs to be a day off? Because I'm dragging right now, and I'm telling you, I'm dragging. Luckily, I got some nootropics from Panda Subs, and if anybody wants to get any of the new products from Panda, use code FKC. If you can't remember that code, then you're definitely not a watcher of this show. Also, you're going to be able to get 25% off at pandasubs.com. They have all sorts of different products out there. Also, the owner of Panda is named Merbad, and he told me that if anybody spends $100 or more, you're going to get a shaker like the one I have here. You can also choose it to be in white or even red if you want. Or you can also get like one of those drawstring bags, you know what I'm talking about, to be able to throw some stuff in. Usually after work, as soon as I get done working, I like to go to the gym. This is not a picture of me, though, but this is what you would get for free. Yeah, I got better legs than that. I mean, you got to give me a little bit more credit. If there's one thing I got on me from the belly button down, I'm doing well. Belly button up, I don't know. Belly button down is probably where I think I'm actually built the best. 750 people tuned in. Code FKC, 25% off at pandasubs.com. I'm going to have to take off my jacket. The rooms that we have here at Chat Sports, the temperature differential between them is pretty incredible. I'm not going to lie to y'all. It's pretty incredible. Though it looks like I got a little bit of a stain on this shirt, but hopefully nobody's going to rat me out. What up, OG Bloodstain? You're the first one up here on today's show. To be fair, if these are our only options, give AOC a shot. He's cheaper. Use that money on the O-line, draft a quarterback, and then get some D-line. I think the only problem with the whole Aiden O'Connell, you can use it. I can take. If I take off my coat, I'm fine. The only issue with Aiden O'Connell is the Raiders don't even want to risk putting Aiden out there as a starter. So if you know that you don't even want to risk doing that, it can't even be an option. And I know for a lot of Raiders fans out there, we think that Aiden is a good quarterback, and he's a good backup quarterback. He's clearly not in that top 20, clearly not in that top 25. But, I mean, Sam Darnold is an upgrade. Justin Fields is an upgrade. Russell Wilson is an upgrade. I understand that Aiden at $1.2 million is a better value maybe than those other quarterbacks, which I don't totally disagree with, but I would rather pay Sam Darnold, $25 million a year than roll with Aiden at 1.2. I would rather go with Justin Fields at 10 to 15 than Aiden at 1.2, because to me, when you have 90-something million in overall money, right, like you have a lot of money to be able to go outside some players, make some stuff happen, but at the exact same time, you can restructure contracts to make it where if you go out and you sign a Sam Darnold, you can already restructure his contract. That way the salary cap hit is a lot lower than some of the numbers that you're thinking it's going to be. I hear you, but to me, you just can't go Aiden O'Connell. You can't go with Gardner Minshew, and the Raiders aren't going to go with Aiden O'Connell. That I can guarantee you. Catch Joey! Bang! Not Justin Fields. Once dudes start throwing his inaccurate passes, nation will start getting pissed. If it's truly a bridge quarterback, try for Wilson or Cousins at a decent price. I would not give Darnold 30+ a year, even though I do like Darnold as a tier 2 quarterback, just not at that price. I agree with a lot of the stuff you're saying. I don't love Sam Darnold at $30 million plus either, right? I just think that that's probably going to be the rate. I look at the contract that a Geno Smith got, a Sam Darnold's going to get, a Baker Mayfield got. To me, it's going to be somewhere around that 3-year, $100 million number where the first 2 years are going to be guaranteed, and then the Raiders are going to give him an option in that third season. I don't love the option either, but he did just throw for 35 touchdowns, and I believe the quarterback that is best suited for what the Raiders are trying to do, and with Chip Kelly, I think it's Sam Darnold. The only way that Justin Fields makes a lot of sense to me is if you build in the trenches, you build that offensive line, you build that defensive line, and you kind of look at what Philadelphia did this past year to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I would want to use Jalen Hurts like Justin Fields. I'll admit, Fields can't throw the ball down the field like Hurts can, but if you're going to go out and you want to draft an Ashton Genty, you want to run the rock with Justin Fields and really rely on that defense and just really pound the shit out of the football, I actually don't think it's the worst idea, plus with all the holes that this team has. You can make an argument that Justin Fields is the best starting caliber quarterback at the cheapest price that allows us then to allocate all of our other needs in the draft free agency. I hear you. I don't really want Kirk Cousins. That Achilles injury is scaring me. Plus, Cousins is going to cost you more than what Sam Darnold would. And then Russell Wilson. It's kind of a coin flip there, but it's been talked about already by Jay Glazer saying that Wilson will not go to the Raiders. And Wilson and Glazer is somebody that's very well connected with Mike Tomlin. So I listen to that report very closely. Catch Joey, shout out to you, my man. Rich Wolf, Chuggs, we get in our lick back Thursday.
Hey.
I don't even know what that means.
Hey, the Rockets, they're down right now. I'm not going to lie. The Rockets are down right now, but hey, it's a long season. We're getting Jabari back. It's all good. Y'all can have Jimmy Butler the 3rd. We actually have our Warriors guy right here. Smitty, we have a Warriors fan in here saying they're going to get back on Thursday against the Rockets. How are we feeling about the Warriors and Jimmy Butler? Here's our Warriors guy. Rich Wolf, I know you probably are subbed, but
Yes, sir. Warriors definitely getting their lick back in the Rockets. The veteran experience is too much in Golden State now, and we'll be live on Warriors today, so tune in. Shameless plug.
Hey, sorry. I actually didn't know he didn't know what he was talking about. You can unsub if you want. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about.
I mean, I'll tell you this right now. If you're looking for a shameless plug, Chat Sports is never afraid to do it.
Great show.
I'll also say this, though. Again, we're going to talk a lot about quarterbacks, and one of the shows that I'm going to do this offseason is Because to me, I don't care if the Raiders sign a Sam Darnold, but you better have the plan that goes along with it. I don't care if the Raiders sign Justin Fields. You got to have a plan that goes along with it. Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, Matt Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. To me, as long as the Raiders execute their plan, and these are going to be videos that I do way down the road. Not way down the road, honestly, probably in the next week or two because free agency is right around the corner. But the Raiders have to execute their plan, and I trust this offensive staff. I also say that because Chip Kelly can win with any type of quarterback, but you also got to give him the right pieces to be able to get the job done. So I'll kind of go into a lot of that other stuff, Cass. Mando, DC at 30 or Sam Darnold for 40 mil, who you taking? If it's just the value of those two guys, and we're just saying, and it's just the value of those two QBs, I think Derek Carr at $30 million is better than Sam Darnold at $40 million. However, though, to get Derek Carr at $30 million, you also have to make a trade for him.
The only thing,
and I would say then at that point, I would rather just roll with Sam.
The only thing I would say,
I also don't think it's going to be that much of a difference.
The only thing I would say and why I would lean Sam Darnold is because usually players with age, as you get older, the injuries start piling up and get worse. Over the past 3 seasons, Derek Carr and those injuries have slowly started to creep up on him. It worries me for whatever team gets him next year, unless he's in a situation like a Sam Darnold where your O-line is stacked.
Sure.
I'm worried about Derek Carr playing 17 games.
Oh, and I think it's a very valid point. I mean, he played only 10 games last season. Here's the thing, though. In the 27 games that he played in New Orleans, he did have 40 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. But Sam Darnold, and I get it, he was bad his last 2 games, and he was absolutely bad his last 2 games. Still was able to go out there and throw for 35 touchdowns. If you told me Derek Carr at 30 or Sam Darnold at 30, I would take Sam Darnold at $30 million over Derek Carr. And quite frankly, I think if you were to ask a group of people who's the better quarterback, if money's not involved, Derek Carr or Sam Darnold, I would say 75% of the people would say Darnold. And if I asked our chat sports team right now, which is about 32 people deep, I would say it's probably even closer to 80 to 85% of those people are going to take Sam Darnold over Derek Carr. And I get it. DC's done a lot of good. We'll talk about DC plenty, though, on today's show. What up, John? What's the cap hit if the Saints trade or cut Carr?
I can look at it right now.
I have an entire show designed around this, John, because, again, the amount of times I've been asked, can the Raiders make a move for Derek Carr? But if the Raiders were to make a deal for DC, the Raiders would only owe Derek Carr, which, quite frankly, is the only thing that I care about. The Raiders would only owe DC $30 million.
Oh, yeah, no, $30 million. You're right.
For the...
It would be 35 because it's base plus signing, right?
No. For Derek, if the Raiders trade for him, they would only owe him $30 million because of his other, guarantees. For the Saints, though, if they trade him pre-June 1st, New Orleans eats $40 million, and they save only $11.
Yeah.
If they cut him pre-June 1st, they're eating all of it. So that's not going to happen. If the Saints cut him, they would designate him as a post-June 1st cut, which would save them $30 million. They would only eat $21, but then DC would be able to sign with any team out there on the NFL market. But the Saints have to make a decision very soon, because 3 days after the new league year is March 12th, 4 p.m. Eastern time. What up, Raider Muerte? By March 15th, the Saints have to make a decision on what's going to happen with Derek Carr, or else they have to give him $30 million guaranteed. Because of that timetable, they will make a decision on Carr way before then.
New deal for today.
Way before then.
New deal for today. Every time somebody sends in a Vibes, 3-second dance break.
All right, I'm in.
Here we go. Hey. All right.
All right, let's go to the next one. Coming in from Javi, I think it has to be Fields if the plan is to move up for a quarterback. It would be easier to move up Fields than Sam, especially money-wise. I don't think if you sign a quarterback, to me, if you're the Raiders and you sign a Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, you make a trade, that's you telling everybody in the NFL draft that you're not trading up. To me, the only quarterback that's worth trading up into the first round is Cam Ward. I would take Shedeur at number 6, and even that makes me a little bit nervous just based on some of the talent that is out there. The more and more tape I watch on Mason Graham, I might take Mason Graham over Shedeur. I might take Will Johnson over Shedeur. I might even take somebody like the offensive tackle from LSU. And Abdul Carter could be somebody to consider. But, like, to me, if you're the Raiders and you go out and get Fields, that's you telling the world that you are not going to trade up, that you were going to try to use your picks and try to build even more, depth, I guess, along the offense, defensive side of the football, and really trying to go out there and make it work. If I'm going out signing Fields, I'm also drafting a running back in the top 3 rounds, and I'm not going to go out and sign one. Let's go to another guy here, Cass Joey, who's lighting up the scoreboard today. By the way, I'm going to be in Dallas March 2nd to the 6th for business. Where we grabbing a drink? Cass, I got to look at my schedule. And when I say I got to look at my schedule, I mean
Monday through Thursday.
Okay. I mean, if it's Monday through Thursday, we're going to be working, so it shouldn't be an issue. My anniversary with Alex is always the last day in February, and then technically the first day in March is how we do it. But
you're good. That's the Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, then we're good. I would say probably the best day for me to do one of these would be maybe on that Thursday. Like, I say we do Thursday happy hour, kind of get a little bit loosey-goosey, and then I'll end up meeting you out for another drink or two.
What if we did Thursday happy hour, but an actual happy hour, you just took your phone and went live from, like, Katie Icehouse?
I would love to do that. The problem is the music in the background. We've had too many videos in the years past get shut down because of us going places. But, Cass, I'm serious when I say this. I'm buying the first few rounds, so make sure you just hit me up. I promise you we'll definitely get together. Let's go to Navman. What's up, my man? Again, appreciate everyone tuning in. We got over 1,000 people here in the building. If you haven't subbed, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button. If you can't find the subscribe button, then I don't blame you. Just hit that big old red button down below that says subscribe. Navman, I became acutely aware today that Chuggs could be J.D. Vance's twin brother. Eerily similar. Do you approve this message, Chuggs, with VP contacts? Do you? I don't know.
I guarantee you if you gave Mitch 7 guesses, he could not tell you what state J.D. Vance comes from.
Honestly, when I hear the name Vance, I think of The Office.
Bob Vance, Refrigeration.
Here's the problem, y'all. I only know Raiders, and I know NFL, and I know my own inner circle. Besides that, I really try not to stay involved in politics. Let's go to Blinky. What an interesting 7 days. My birthday happens. Chiefs get their pants pulled down on national television. And my signed Howie Long jersey arrived in the mail. Raiders reports are real ones. Proud to be a part of the nation. Blinky, I'm happy to have you. I'm glad that you got your Howie Long signed jersey finally. And I know sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but that's just because we're still kind of a small team, and my days to ship everything are on Wednesdays. But, dude, it's been a great past few days. Also, huge happy birthday to you.
Thank you to everybody for being patient with us. We are going through a ton of construction here, so us sending stuff out has been
a nightmare.
Yeah, impacted with that.
To say the least, which I'll provide another update of what our Chat Sports studio looks like on Instagram, Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365 when I get done with today's show. But seriously, I appreciate everyone being patient. Also, Brandon Jasper, I messaged you today. You got to tell me when you get your special gift because I think it's going to blow your mind. My hint is this. That's my hint. Let's go to Phasma. Trade Max and a first-round pick for the Titans. And first overall.
So Max and the 6 for the number 1 pick.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because that tells me then you're going to go get Cam Ward, and I don't really want to move on from Max Crosby to go get Cam Ward. Like, to me, the number 1 overall pick is going to be a little bit cheaper, and I put out a video on social media today. I also put out a video yesterday on what I think it costs.
What if I told you could do this and then trade your next year's first for Myles Garrett?
Say that again.
What if I told you could do this, get Cam Ward, and then trade your first-round pick next year for Myles Garrett?
I don't want to do it because in my mind, I'm giving up 3 first-round picks to go up to number 1. I want 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby. And I truly believe if Myles Garrett wasn't available, then I'm giving up, again, I'm giving up a first, and I don't want to give up my first next year either because
You already have your quarterback.
Sure, but I also don't want to give up my first round pick next season. Like, I don't love that long-term plan. I also don't think it shows your fan base, your players that, hey, we're actually trying to commit and bring players into the building that love football. I'm moving on from Crosby, though. Not going to happen. David, Rodgers equals hell no. Darnold equals okay. Stafford equals yes, please. I like Justin Fields.
Stafford equals daddy.
I'm going to talk about every single one of these quarterbacks here today, especially Rodgers, Darnold, which I'll tell you this. Before I did today's show and before I fully understood Aaron Rodgers' contract, I was also in the hell no boat. I'm still in the don't really want him boat. I'm not going to lie to you. But the hell no boat is not there anymore. And I'll explain what Rodgers' contract looks like. Darnold, I'm with you, is okay. Stafford, we're in agreement there. I just like, out of all those names, by far the least likely is Matthew Stafford. Blink, after watching the defensive line, offensive line free agency video, what's your ideal amount of money spent in the trenches with what our cap is right now? It's really hard to be able to sit down and do that, which I will tell you this, one of the videos that you guys will get before free agency actually starts. And for those that don't know, free agency begins March 12th, 4 p.m. Eastern time. The 48 hours before that, though, you are allowed, like agents are allowed to start contacting players. And that's where you're going to get some of these leaks that end up rolling out. I'm just telling you, be prepared for it. I will do an entire video, though, of like if I was in the Raiders room, how much money I would allocate to, giving Max Crosby, how I would break that type of deal down, the players I would sign in free agency, and then the players that I would target in the NFL draft. I would do all of that, but with $92.3 million, my big point of doing that video yesterday and talking about the trenches as much as I have been, let's say you were planning on spending $30 million in free agency on the trenches. Now, after watching that Super Bowl game, and, the Raiders also kind of laid the blueprint on Christmas. The Bucs kind of laid the blueprint back in that 2019 Super Bowl. It's not a surprise when you win in the trenches that, good shit happens. But I would say I would then allocate an extra, like, $10 million to the trenches just to make sure that we are dominating in those areas. Let's go to Melly Williams. If a team in the late first round offers you their first rounder this and next year for 6, do you do it? So are you telling me so let's just say it's the Houston Texans. 25 for 6, and we get the Texans first round pick next year?
Add a fourth or a third next year as well to give you more ammunition to move up, and I say yes. If you can't get a quarterback.
I like the quarterbacks in next year's draft more, which makes this a very interesting idea.
That's exactly what I'm saying, because next year, you get your bridge this year. And if you're saying we're not taking a quarterback this year's draft, Melly, I actually love this idea.
I think truthfully, it depends which team. I don't see the Houston Texans falling off where that first round pick could be worth a top 10 pick. I would try to target a team that's maybe in the 18 to 30 whatever number, and I would try to find a team that I would go, I could see that team being in the top 10. I could see that team being in the top 10. Because if you end up just getting another first-round pick.
If the Colts offered you their first-round pick next year, they're at 18 or 17.
In a heartbeat. That one I would do. Because to me then, you're going to get the Colts first-round pick, who I think is going to be in the top 10 next season. And then on top of that, you're going to get the Raiders, which hopefully isn't in the top 10 next season. But that would give you more flexibility to be able to go up and get your QB if you want to be able to go get your guy.
And Cap Steve, you're saying F tanking. This is what you would do if you don't want to tank. Because you're getting other draft capital to where it doesn't matter how you do. You have other draft picks regardless.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to tank and you still want to get a quarterback next year, this is actually exactly what you want to do for Melly.
Yeah, this is playing checkers when everybody else is playing chess. You got to find the right team. I'm not going to trade my first-round pick with Kansas City, right, or a team that I'm very confident is going to be very far in the playoff picture. But if there's a team like the Colts, I think they're a great example of that, then, yeah, sure, you would consider moving it up. Let's go to John Collier next up here. When are NFL teams allowed to start trading again?
I believe the start of the new league year.
I think it might even be. So I know the franchise tag deadline is coming up here pretty soon, which the franchise tag deadline's right at the end of February, where you have to decide of what you're going to do. I believe, though, after this week, there's another deadline, which I can't think of the name right now off the top of my head. The new league year, though, starts March. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to just start making moves right away, because I believe Matthew Stafford got traded before free agency started a few years ago. I think if you wanted to make a move right now, you almost technically could. It just doesn't happen until about a week after the Super Bowl.
You want to know the details?
Yeah, hit me.
New league year begins March 10th.
New league year
March 12th.
March 12th, yeah, the 48 hours before.
It's March 10th.
So when can you make a trade?
You cannot make a trade until March 12th.
Okay.
Stafford was agreed on a trade in February.
Yep.
It's technically tampering.
Technically tampering.
No one did anything about it.
Yeah. I was gonna say
just like when the league
technically
didn't, punish Rodgers.
You can't technically trade anybody until March 12th. But I was gonna say I'm pretty sure Stafford got traded. It just was. Petey said it was tampering, but they didn't do anything about it.
McVay and Stafford are the same hotel in Mexico.
Oh.
Big.
McVay and Stafford, same
What
hotel
happens
in Mexico. I mean, here's the thing though. That shit happens. Individual fans are is weak. The class is deep anyway. Either trade back or draft best player available. More mustard. Again, this is something that I agree with where I almost find it funny because, we've been talking about winning in the trenches. We've been talking about the blueprint that Philadelphia, even the Raiders, Tampa Bay kind of laid to beat Kansas City. I'll also say this. You go back and you look at the game where the Raiders beat Kansas City, the Buccaneers beat Kansas City, the Eagles beat Kansas City.
Yeah.
To the crowd out there that wants to draft Ashton Genty at 6, look at that Eagles game.
I hate that.
It's just proof that the running back position is an unbelievably important position. But it is one of the most least important positions on the offensive side of the football if you don't win in the trenches.
Shout out to More Mustard. Did you like the halftime show? Y for yes and for no.
I went back and I watched it yesterday. I enjoyed it more when we were doing the show, but overall, I don't think it was a good halftime show. I was okay with what Kendrick did. Can we be honest? SZA, it was the most blatant lip singing I have almost ever seen, and that bothers me because you're getting paid millions upon millions of dollars to go out there and do a performance, and if you're going to go out there and lip sync, I mean, that's just bad to me. Like, if we're talking about the whole show in general, I think it's bad. Some people didn't like that Serena Williams was out there. Quite frankly, anything that involves Serena Williams, I'm in on. I like the pettiness. Yeah. Serena's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, female athlete of all time. If she wants to go dance at a Super Bowl, I think we're blessed to be able to do that. Shit, she looks great also going out there doing her thing. But, I mean, Kendrick, though, I like Kendrick's music. I'm not somebody that – I like Drake's music more because it touches me more. Giggity. Yeah, I know, right? Especially with Drake.
That's not the first thing.
Yeah.
not the first time Drake's touched more.
But, Drake's music just resonates with me a little bit more. But I thought it was a good show overall. How would you guys grade the halftime show? A, B, C, D, or F? Alex loved it. Alex's mom loved it.
And it's probably A minor.
Like, that part was hilarious to me. I laughed at it, and I love the creativity. I love how they kind of, led up to it. But, again, Kendrick's music is good to me. But I'll also say this. I want to listen to Kendrick's music in my car or with some Beats Studio headphones where I can feel the beat and I can feel the rhythm. When you watch a live rap performance, and I've been to some rap concerts, again, like when we went to the Drake concert live, it was a cool experience, but in terms of the music quality, it's just not as good as what you want.
A minor.
It was a great show, great performance.
Papaya, man.
Music overall was What up, Smoke? Salute to Chuggs and Mitch. Don't like Aaron Rodgers, but he had similar numbers to Mahomes this past year. And for a bridge quarterback, I wouldn't mind. What do you think? The biggest difference is the wins.
I don't even think that. I think the biggest difference is what he brings to the locker room.
Yeah, I mean,
if you
Rodgers is a cancer.
A bridge quarterback, you want him to kind of set the tone and teach the next guy.
Yep.
Do you trust Rodgers does that? I mean, I don't know if he really did that for – do you think he did that for Jordan Love that well?
No,
it didn't seem like he really liked Jordan Love.
And I'm somebody that believes this. You show your truest colors to your friends and family. There's a reason why Rodgers is hated by his entire friends and family group. He's just a selfish person, and that's not me ripping on Rodgers. But does anybody here disagree with that statement? Actions speak louder than words, and Aaron Rodgers' actions his entire life has been he's a selfish dude. But we have ignored it because he was an MVP caliber football player. He ain't MVP. I don't even think he's top 20 quarterback right now.
Yeah.
I mean, is he a top 20 QB? I don't think so. Cameron, better bridge, Rodgers or Flacco?
Rodgers.
I would say Rodgers, but that's quite frankly a bridge that I'm going to find a new route. You know, like, I'm going to say, are you sure that that's the only route? I would rather pay tolls and go a longer way because that's a bridge I don't want to cross.
Would you rather get punched or kicked?
Right? Carlos, Stafford is our best option.
Hear me out.
Hear me out. He is good enough to win now and would be a good teacher to a rookie on the bench. Carlos, I don't disagree, but I don't think Stafford is actually available. And we'll talk a little bit more about Stafford here on today's show again, but I look at Stafford, and I would say the only way that the Rams move on from Stafford is if Sean McVay decides to leave the Rams, take advantage of the deal that Amazon offered him a few years ago, which I don't know if you guys remember this. Amazon offered him a 5-year, $100 million fully guaranteed deal to cover NFL games as an announcer. That's more money than he makes as a head coach. The fact that they're moving on from Cooper Kupp, like, that would be why I could see the Rams moving on from Stafford. But from a contract standpoint, it literally doesn't make any sense for Los Angeles to move on from him.
Quick side note. Can everybody help us out and like the video? We had I think there was some Wi-Fi, some YouTube issue that just happened. We just lost 600 viewers out of nowhere.
Oh, interesting.
It said weird connection on there. Can everybody like the video and help us out a little bit? We had almost 1,400 people in the chat.
Yeah, sometimes, I don't know why, YouTube does a lot of weird stuff, but we ask for likes, we ask for comments, because we know that it helps us out a lot. It also shows our boss that you guys appreciate the videos. But Ron, Yoda, Miguel, if you want to shout out here on today's show, let's see who's rocking with us. Spam me down below. We got a few more super chats to get to, and then we're going to get into the very first segment here on today's Raiders Report show. I see Blink down there below. Can't Control Life. Miguel, James, Moorhead. Raider Nation Adventures with Jay Cena. What up, Avery? What up, Giuseppe? AHJ. Raider Racing. I see Jose, Yoda Jenkins, Ron Raspberry, Todd Canning. Keep them going. We got Jacob, Rusty T, Josiah, Ed Robbins down there below. Lesbo. That's my girl right there. Rome, Mora, David, Oscar Capitan. Shout out to all y'all tuning in. Let's go to Raider Nation Adventures with Jay Cena. If anybody needs a great kids book, seriously, look up this book. It's a great Raiders one. Bro, please tell me you checked out Cam Scatabo. He's a Raider all day. Pairing him with Bowers in the red zone would be damn near unstoppable. And I think Cam's a really good running back, right? To me, though, you still have to be able to find another running back to put next to him because he's a great back. He is. He's not he's not Ashton Genty. He's not Omari and Hampton. He's a good physical runner that can also catch the football, which I do think has a lot of value for the type of offense that the Raiders are going to go out there and run. But if you told me right now I can get Cam Scatabo in the 4th round, I can make an argument that that's a better value than Ashton Genty at number 6 overall because that also allows you then to go out and get a physical offensive line. But you say Bowers. To me, the rookie that I think matches Scatabo better is JPJ. You want to be a physical football team, you run behind Jackson Powers Johnson, then you go out and you sign a Mekhi Becton, and you let Scatabo run behind those two guys in the biggest moment of a game, 3rd down and 1, 4th down and 1. I like the chain movement that you could have there. Scatabo's a hell of a back. Lumpkin, Sam is not a good pick for us. We do not have the O-line for him. He can't move at all. Justin Fields would fit better with Chip and our O-line. The problem with what you're saying right now here, Lumpkin, is you're looking at the Raiders now. The Raiders now aren't going to be the team that steps foot onto the field come September. And if it is, we're going to be looking at the number 1 overall pick because that's how bad this team right now is. I look at the Raiders' offensive line and I go, we got Colton Miller, you got Jackson Powers Johnson, you have Dylan Parham, and DJ Glaze. That's 4 out of 5 starters. Do I want to upgrade Glaze? Yes, I do. Do I want to upgrade and find another offensive guard potentially? Yeah, absolutely. But you can bring back Jordan Meredith, and you're going to be able to bring him back on a vet minimum type of deal because he's an exclusive rights free agent. So if I'm the Raiders, I look at 92-something million that I have in salary, the second most in the NFL, and I go, I can sign an offensive guard. I can find another offensive guard. Let's say you go out and you sign a Mekhi Becton. You put Mekhi Becton at right guard. Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, JPJ, Mekhi Becton, DJ Glaze. Then maybe you find somebody else in the draft. Maybe you're able to go out and sign another offensive tackle, a cheaper one. Maybe a Morgan Moses you were able to throw in there. Hell, this is kind of a crazy idea. Colton Miller's played right tackle before. What if we kick Colton Miller over to right tackle, go sign a Ronnie Stanley at left tackle who's 30 years old? The Raiders have a lot of things that they can do. To me, though, Sam Darnold and the offense that Chip Kelly wants to run and the offense that the Raiders are going to run is much better fit for Sam Darnold, but Fields allows you to make a more complete team based on the price tags. Let's go to Carlos again. Would you now take more seriously the idea of my Myles Garrett to the Raiders after witnessing the Eagles' defense of line? It's not that I don't love the idea of Myles Garrett joining the Raiders. It's just the only reason why we're talking about this is because Diana Rossini said, I had somebody text me that said the Raiders should go out and try to trade for him. Why would Myles Garrett come to the Raiders? Why would the Raiders go out and get Myles? And I get how good at defensive line would be, but if you're the Raiders then, okay, you're going to pay Myles Garrett $35 million per year, and then you got to give Max Crosby a contract extension paying him. Probably, if you go out and you trade for Myles Garrett, I'm telling you this right now, Max is going to go, I want that exact same amount of money. That tells me that you're about to invest then in about $70 million per year in your two edges. I get it. It's a phenomenal edge group. But we just have way too many holes on both sides of the football to be able to allocate that much money to only our defensive ends. We agree with that, right? Again, he's a phenomenal player, but it's just you got to spread the love, the money all around.
All right, last one and then our first segment of the day. Here we go, Mitch.
Got it. Don't see how we could pay someone like Darnold with all the holes we have to fill, sign Max. After Max, we only have about $60 million. That's not true at all. You're looking at it from a Raiders have $92.5 million or 92.3. You pay Max 30-something, and now you have 60. That's not how that contract extension is going to work. The way that the extension is going to work is when you look at contracts, right, you can look at it as just the overall face value, which would be probably about $30 million per year. But the way that the Raiders are going to do it, I bet you Max's cap hit this season is probably going to be under $15 million. And I say that because they're going to give him guarantees. They're going to give him a lot of money up front, and that's going to lower his cap hit significantly. So it's not you're not looking at it quite the right way. But this is why contracts are really confusing. This is a lot of the times why it's so difficult to be able to break down what the Raiders can do just because of all the shit you can do now with void years. I mean, Max got 3 void years on his deal. The Raiders will be paying Max Crosby until 2029, whether he's on the team or not. That's crazy, but that's because of void years. But his cap hit's going to be much lower than that $30 million. It's just that's what the new deal is going to look like, if that makes sense. All right, y'all, we're about 60 likes away from 500. Soon as we get to 500 likes, I'm going to get into the first segment here on today's show, and I'm telling you this. If you like talking QBs, today is going to be a fun day to talk about some quarterbacks, man. Also, got a little bit of Raiders news here. The Raiders are expected to hire Ohio State's Sean Binks as a member of their offensive staff. I don't know who Zach Binks is. I'm not going to...
Are you serious?
Or Sean Binks. Binckes.
Are you serious?
I have no idea. He sounds like he might hang out with J.D. Vance. No idea. He's wearing red, so maybe. I have no idea.
That's crazy.
But somebody that's got some experience with Chip Kelly, adding a little bit more pieces to the offensive side of the football. We got a few more super chats, which we will get to after the first segment here on today's show. But with 1,200 people watching, what?
I just saw some news that the Eagles are going to be interviewing the Texans QB coach.
Uh-oh. Might lose him, Chuggy Bull. 40 likes away. I got to get to 500, and then we're going to get in. We're going to talk about Sam Darnold. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, and we're going to talk about Matthew Stafford because these are 3 quarterbacks that I continuously get asked about on this show. Mark says no on Fields. What about Fields' 1-year prove-it deal, $10 million? No? Still not liking it? Miguel said, screw Carr, don't bring back Adams as well. Miguel, we're in agreement. We'll talk about that a little bit. Rebel, appreciate you. Agent Red, what's up, what's up? Raider Nation 75. Kel, be nice. Is there a duck race today from Raider Nation? No duck race today. I might do one later in the week if we go live again. Again, I don't know if we're going to be able to go live, and I hate telling you guys that simply because our studio spaces here at Chat Sports are changing by the minute. We did just hit 500 likes, so coming up, let's get in Raiders quarterback rumors right now. We got some juicy quarterback rumors coming up here on the Raiders Report. I'm Mitchell Renz, and Sam Darnold was linked to the silver and black. Aaron Rodgers, could he come to the Raiders? Matthew Stafford, is he on his way to Las Vegas? The bottom line is this. Every single quarterback that either might be traded, might hit free agency, or is already a free agent is going to be connected to the Las Vegas Raiders. And anytime I get asked so often about certain people, certain players, I got to make a video on it, which is exactly what we're doing here on today's show. If you want to stay up to date on all things going on around quarterback news, quarterback rumors, whether it's the NFL or the Raiders, make sure you're subscribed, make sure your notifications are turned on, because I would say until free agency starts, which the official date is March 12th, 4 p.m. Eastern time, tampering periods 48 hours even before that, quarterbacks is going to be what I talk about a lot here on this show. So let's get into the very first thing. It's around Sam Darnold going to the Raiders. And if you didn't see the report from ESPN's Adam Schefter, he linked Darnold to the Las Vegas Raiders this week, saying that it's very likely that the Raiders are going to be interested in the Minnesota Vikings quarterback, and this has been something that I've talked about, multiple times on this show. Here's what Schefter had to say. One team that I would watch with Sam Darnold moving forward would be the Las Vegas Raiders. I think at some point in time, they're going to have some interest in trying to bring Darnold to Las Vegas. We'll see if they can make it happen. When you look at everything that the Raiders have done this offseason, it is predicated around trying to bring in a veteran journeyman quarterback, and Sam Darnold is a name to eye. Jeremy Fowler, though, also is somebody that said that the Vikings still could potentially try to bring him back, though it is unlikely. I was talking to Patrick Seatman. He's the one who covers the Viking show here at Chat Sports, and it does sound like this one's still a little bit of an up-in-the-air topic, though it looks like Darnold's going to be moving on, and the Vikings have their eyes on J.J. McCarthy or maybe even another quarterback. Fowler had this to say on Darnold. The Vikings have not yet made a firm determination on Sam Darnold's future with the team. His strong play this season has caused them to pause and take a hard look at their options. Bringing him back feels like a stronger possibility than it was 5 or 6 months ago, but the Vikings will have a cap on spending here. The Raiders don't really have a cap on how much they can spend. They got $92.3 million, and Darnold is the top free agent quarterback out on the market, and I forecast that he's going to get paid like a top quarterback on the market in free agency, somewhere between 25, 35. I hope it doesn't get near $40 million per year. Then Las Vegas, the people that make some odds, and this is where it originated, where there's smoke, there's fire, because, there's reports coming in from Schefter, there's reports coming in from Fowler. Vegas always seems to know things that happen before the general public does, and it's not a surprise. Sam Darnold to the Raiders, it's got the second highest odds at plus 350. The Vikings are the best odds. So if you're somebody sitting up here going, I don't think that he's going to go to Minnesota, the fact that the Vikings and the Raiders are the clear top destinations for Darnold, and then it's a big tear gap with the Steelers, and when you look at what the Steelers might do, I don't think that they're going to be interested in Sam Darnold. It's either the Vikings or the Raiders for Darnold, according to Vegas, and I'm somebody that thinks that Sam Darnold is a better chance to go to the Raiders. So we're doing this a little bit different today. I'm going to talk about what's going on around each player, and then I'll tell you how likely it is. Sam Darnold to the Raiders. I'm going to give this one 2 just win babies. I'm going to say people are talking. I'm legitimate when I mean this. Get a coin out, flip it in the air. Call it heads, call it tails, whatever it lands on. If you got it right, Sam Darnold signs with us. If you got it wrong, Sam Darnold ain't signing with us. But I did say back on February 4th, 2025, the most likely quarterback that the Raiders signed this offseason to pair with Chip Kelly is, in fact, Sam Darnold. And there has been tons of smoke around Darnold, and it doesn't surprise me that now there's even more of this smoke coming after the NFL Super Bowl because of Media Day and everybody that talks during Media Day. The Raiders front office, the coaching staff moves. When you bring in John Spytek, who's worked with a bunch of journeyman quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Baker Mayfield. When you look at Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson. When you even talk about Tom Brady himself, he was a journeyman quarterback at one time when he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, leaving the New England Patriots. When you bring in Chip Kelly, it all points to one quarterback. To me, one of the quarterbacks that you got to consider is Sam Darnold, but I will say no matter what, the Raiders will add a QB in free agency, which, yes, is bad news for Minshew. He's gone anyway. It's bad news for Aiden O'Connell, but that's what's going to happen when you give your offensive coordinator a raise, making him the highest paid OC in the National Football League. Chip Kelly wants a new quarterback. So tell me down below, it's going to be the pinned comment here on today's show, yes or no, to the 1,400 people watching this live show. Do you want the Raiders to sign Sam Darnold? My answer coming up after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say a little bit of a no, because in today's offseason with the Raiders, you got to lay out a plan. You can't go out and sign Sam Darnold and do everything that doesn't make sense to go along with it. To me, I say yes. If he is clearly a bridge quarterback on a good contract. I like Darnold at a value of $25 to $30 million per year. I would give him those first 2 years fully guaranteed, and then in that third year, I would give an out clause because I want the Raiders to draft a QB, learn underneath the 27-year-old Darnold, and then hand the keys to the car when we're moving on. If Darnold's the long-term answer, no, I don't want Sam Darnold. If it's more than 2 years and if it's more than $35 million, I'm not interested. If the Raiders want to go give Darnold a 3-year, $40 million deal and he's making $120 million, I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to go, I don't think that that's a very good deal for the Silver and Black, because one of the things that you're seeing right now teams do is they go out and they sign a quarterback and then that QB doesn't end up being very good. I think Derek Carr with the Saints is a perfect example of that. It's a good QB, but it's clearly not somebody that's going to get you to a Super Bowl. I think Sam Darnold is a good QB, but does anybody think that he's going to win a Super Bowl? I personally do not think so, and I don't want to pay a quarterback $40 million if I don't think that they have a chance to win me a Super Bowl. But I do believe in this Raiders coaching staff to help groom Darnold, just like last season. Anytime the Raiders brought in somebody on the defensive line, I said, I believe in Rob Leonard, I believe in Patrick Graham, and a lot of those players like Caleb Von Chasen, Tyree Wilson got better and better and better. Malcolm Kuntz got better. When I look at Pete Carroll, when I look at John Spytek, when I look at Greg Olson, when I look at Chip Kelly, I look at a lot of people, Tom Brady, and I go, they are smart enough to get the most out of Sam Darnold. I can't guarantee you that Darnold's going to throw for 35 touchdowns again. I can't guarantee you that he's going to do everything that he did last season, but I know this. If Darnold even just throws for, let's say, 28 touchdowns, throws for 12 interceptions, right around 4,000 yards. That puts the Raiders at least in a window to potentially make the playoffs. And I'd make the argument, Sam Darnold on the Raiders in 2025 would be the best quarterback that the Raiders have had on their team since Derek Carr in 2016. Because when I take Sam Darnold at his current contract, let's say Sam Darnold at $30 million or Derek Carr at $30 million, I'm taking Sam Darnold every day of the week because Darnold right now is a better quarterback than Derek Carr. Coming up here, how likely is it, though, that the Raiders could go out and potentially add an Aaron Rodgers, go out and potentially add a Matthew Stafford? Because not only free agency isn't the only thing that could happen. You can make some trades, and there's obviously big-name QBs are going to be linked to the Las Vegas Raiders. I'll tell you these stories coming up here in just a moment. But first, shout out to our sponsor here, Prize Picks. You're going to be able to get $50 when you play $5 over at prizepicks.com/CLNS. And I love me some Prize Picks, and I think that you will too. Somebody just said, Mitch, what about Aiden O'Connell? Sam Darnold is light years better than Aiden O'Connell. You know what else is light years better? The deals that Prize Picks is hooking up their people with. Also, it's All-Star Weekend. It's almost here, and Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching your favorite players during the game and the Saturday night events like the 3-point contest. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All you got to do is pick more. You pick less. I know that my big game lineup didn't quite hit, but you know what? Had a lot of fun watching it. If Saquon Barkley would have scored a touchdown, I would have been able to cash in. But you know what? Still had a great time hanging out with everybody. FKC's down below. If you want to take advantage of our deal with PrizePicks, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Make sure that you use code CLNS. That way they know we sent you. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers time now. And as Rodgers coming to the Raiders. There are multiple reports out there that the Jets are going to be moving on from Rodgers this offseason. The two tried to get together yesterday, and New York was not interested. The Raiders, of course, are a team that's inked to him simply because they're the Raiders. Rodgers is 42 years old, and if you remember, Rodgers at one point was interested in joining the Silver and Black. But just like Sam Darnold, just like every QB, the Raiders are going to be a team that's going to always be featured in the next team odds. And look at them. They're at plus 300 there. Second place behind the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 200. But then there's a lot more teams in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes simply because there's a lot more unknowns. I don't know if you remember this, though. The Raiders were a team that was linked to Aaron Rodgers back in 2022. This is before he went to the New York Jets. I remember talking about it over and over and over again. Do you remember, there was even discussions that Rodgers could get a house out in Vegas, but Josh McDaniels didn't want him, and I didn't mind the idea of the Raiders not going out and getting Rodgers. I would have taken Rodgers way before I would have taken anybody like Jimmy Garoppolo, but at the same time, Rodgers there was a chance then. The question is there a chance now the Raiders could bring him in? And that's what we're going to discuss here. So Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders. How many just win babies is this one going to be? I was going to make this a 0. And the first time I made this video, it was a 0. This time I'm going to give it 1 just win baby. And it's because you got to look at Rodgers' contract. I'll admit, I don't think that there's going to be a team out there that ends up trading for the veteran. But maybe the Raiders could be interested. So the fact that we know that the Jets could cut Rodgers if nobody trades for him, most NFL teams knowing that say, well, why would I trade for somebody if I can just sit back and I can wait for him to be cut, then I can go out and I can sign him. Would Rodgers potentially take a team-friendly deal? I've said it before. He's a very selfish human being, and I don't know if he's going to do it. If it was up to me and if I was a betting man, I would say Rodgers ends up going to the Pittsburgh Steelers based on a lot of the things that Jay Glazer has said, which I talked about some of those Jay Glazer reports in the video I did last week, the bombshell report with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, if you want to hear about those. But there's a lot of rumors right now and speculation linking Rodgers to the Steelers, and Glazer, again, is best friends with Mike Tomlin. But to me, the reason why I only got to give this one just win, baby, is because the Raiders want to build a culture, and Aaron Rodgers is the definition of a cancer. And I know I don't know Rodgers personally, but at the same time, I'm somebody that believes the way that you act around your friends and family is probably the way that you act in real life. There's a reason why teams don't like Aaron Rodgers. There's a reason why players don't like Rodgers. There's a reason why his own family has disowned Aaron Rodgers. And I think it's because he's a selfish human being. But Tom Brady did leave the New England Patriots. Everybody thought he was washed. Ended up going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with John Spytek and ended up winning a Super Bowl at age 44. Rodgers, I get it, is 41, and Rodgers and Tom Brady are two totally different people, and Rodgers turns 42 in December. I'll also say this, though. There is a little bit of smoke right now around Rodgers and the Raiders talking, but it does scare me just a little bit. When you look at his contract, though, okay, Rodgers' contract is broken down like this. He's got a $35 million option bonus before the season. So if you're the Raiders and you trade for Rodgers, you're taking on that $35 million option bonus. His base salary, though, is only $2.5 million. The total 2025 cash is $37.5. His cap hit is $9.5. The dead money, if you want to move on from him in 2026, is $28 million. So if you're the Raiders, hypothetically speaking, you're taking on some extra money. And for the Las Vegas Raiders, who's got more ownership now, they've already shown that they're not afraid to go out and spend a little bit more money on Chip Kelly, spend a little bit more money on Patrick Graham. Aaron Rodgers at $9.5 million cap hit. I think a lot of people out there now knowing that that's what his cap hit would be, you at least have to entertain the idea because Sam Darnold cap hit at $30 million, Derek Carr cap hit $30 million. You know, you're looking at Justin Fields, it's going to be even more. I don't think Rodgers is a top 20 quarterback, but Rodgers with Tom Brady, John Spytek, Pete Carroll at $9.5 million, and the money is going to be more out of Mark Davis's pocket. I don't think it's that terrible of idea compared to what I thought just a few hours before making this show. Coming up next here is this. Is Matthew Stafford an option for the Las Vegas Raiders? We've talked about Darnold. We've sat up here and we've talked about Aaron Rodgers and that Rodgers contract. You have to admit, it's a lot more interesting knowing that, yeah, Mark's going to have to pay him, but the cap hit's really all I care about. 9.5 cap hit for Rodgers? Not the worst idea I've heard. I'll tell you this. I'll take Rodgers at 9.5 before I pay Gardner Minshew 9.5. That's a no-doubter. Before we get into Matthew Stafford and whether or not he is an option, we will talk about this. And this is something that we did last year, and it was a huge success. Had a lot of fun doing it. If you entered our March Madness bracket, we're doing it again. We do duck races all the time on this show, and we are going to be doing 1v1 duck races, and it is a March Madness tournament. It's going to be the first 64 people that send in $50 to my Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. I'm not starting it yet, so please don't send me any money right now. The winner is going to get $1,600. All I'm saying is this. Keep this in the back of your mind. We are going to start promoting this, and then once March Madness is getting close to get started, I want to have 64 people in. We're going to do duck races. David's won it last season, and I think it was a lot of fun, and I want more people to get it in. So basically what I'm saying is this. If you're not already friends with me on Venmo, add me as a friend at Mitchell Renz 365 because I don't want you to miss this opportunity because it is a lot of fun once these duck races 1v1s get going. So let's talk about Matthew Stafford now potentially joining the Raiders. And there's some rumors right now going on with Los Angeles potentially moving on from their veteran quarterback. They're already going to be moving on from Cooper Kupp. His wife did say, what did she say exactly? She was like talking about how she's okay with the idea of them moving on from him. She's ready for a change. She said it on her own podcast. CBS then today linked Matthew Stafford to the Las Vegas Raiders, and it's not going to surprise anyone. Every QB will be linked to Las Vegas this offseason, but the Raiders are going to keep their options open, and they're going to look at free agency. They're going to look at trades. They're going to be looking at every single potential revolving door because all options are on the table. The Raiders are going to be aggressive. Pete Carroll, John Spytek, they're going to be aggressive. Chip Kelly's going to want to be aggressive. Tom Brady's going to want to go out and be aggressive. And I know that Stafford is the best option out of any quarterback that I have talked about on this show. Quite frankly, Stafford is the best available quarterback. But that's the problem. Is there a chance that the Rams decide to move on from Stafford? To me, the only way that the Rams trade away Stafford is if Sean McVay takes that Amazon gig, because Amazon offered him a 5-year, $20 million per year deal, $100 million in total, and that's more than what he makes being a head coach. From what I know right now, though, Sean McVay's going to stay, and because Sean McVay's staying, Matthew Stafford of the Raiders, it's not going to happen. Tuck rule, tuck that, fake news, whatever you want to call it, that's what this is. And I say that simply because of the dollars and cents of Stafford's contract. If the Rams are shopping Stafford, I promise you I make a video ASAP Rocky talking about how the Raiders have to go out and trade for Stafford. The problem is this. If the Rams trade Stafford, it's going to cost them $45.3 million and dead cap. They save only $4.3. Or Stafford just plays on the Rams for $49.6 million. So you can either have Stafford on the Rams for $49.6 or you trade him away for $45.3. I think they're just going to pay the extra $4.3 and keep him on the team. I will admit, though, if there is a year where Stafford gets dealt, I see it being next season because he's got no money guaranteed in 2026, and that's usually when he's going to want a brand new contract. The Rams at that point, that's the season I think Sean McVay decides to move on, and then it's a whole new conversation. But let me get one thing and one thing very clear. If the Rams are shopping Matthew Stafford, I would take him over any quarterback in free agency. Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. I would take him over any other. Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't matter. If Matthew Stafford, there's a chance that the Raiders go out and get him, I would do everything to try to do it besides give up my first-round pick. If the Rams said, hey, it's number 37 overall for Matthew Stafford, are you doing it? I'm giving up pick 37 for Stafford because he makes us a playoff caliber team. And dare I say it, if we crush free agency, if we crush the draft, tell me why we can't win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. All right, so let's talk about some quarterbacks here because these are three QBs that are up there in age, that are not free agents but have been rumored to potentially being available this offseason. Let's say Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins are all on the open market.
Also, did you see this?
Who are you taking?
This guy. I think Paul's out.
Who?
I think Gutierrez is out.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Schefter tweeted out this is the new Raider guy.
Oh, cool. Good for him. Yeah, I mean, they might be adding more and more people because I know ESPN added a few other Raiders people into the mix, but Like I know Q does a good job. He's one of their ESPN guys as well. I would be shocked if they moved on from Paul Gutierrez. I really would. Because I know they're trying to bring in.
Maybe he got a gig somewhere else.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you never know. We got 1,300 people here. We see Aaron Rodgers from Jake. GS, Geno Smith from Terrell. I see DeMoney. Landon's going to go Geno Smith. We also have, I don't see any for Kirk Cousins, but I think that also just could be because nobody wants to spam KC. Rebel said Mitchell Renz.
You know what? I didn't even think about that.
You're very kind. And it's even Kansas City colors. I mean, quite frankly.
No, that's the Falcons red. That's not KC red.
I know, but come on. If all you put up on screen, you get rid of Kirk Cousins, everything Kirk Cousins, and it just says type KC.
I could see how.
I could KC. Let's go to Cameron Sproul. Scatterville reminds me of Mike Allstott. The way he runs, he might not last past 5 years in the league. Two totally different styles of runners, quite frankly. Like, Mike Allstott was a linebacker playing running back. You got to give Scatterville a lot more credit. Yes, he's physical, but he can also catch the football. Scatterville honestly kind of reminds me of a fat, and I think if you were to put Eddie Lacy and Christian McCaffrey into one player, that's what Scatterville kind of reminds me of. He has the ability to catch the football. He looks like a much better athlete in college. My biggest fear with him is the mentality he brings to the table. I love physicality, and I love how physical he is. He's not going to be able to be as physical as what he is in college in the NFL. His body will break down where I agree where he can't have that physical running style. You would need to have a complement back with him. Mike Allstott, I think that's just because, again, Allstott was a big, white, strong running back. Imagine Peyton Hillis like could catch the football. We should try to draft Carter or Mason Graham. You know, Mason Graham, the more and more tape I watch on him, I forget who was the first person
He
to
also said this.
Draft Carter or Graham, sign a free agent quarterback, seems like a win to me. We can draft Dart in the later rounds and have him develop with a good defense. Here's the problem, Kel.
Going in the first.
There's a lot of people talking about Jackson Dart going in round 1.
My hot take is Jackson Dart will go in round 1.
He was mocked round 1 literally today. I want to say like pick 21 of the Pittsburgh Steelers I saw.
No, my hot take was that him and Milroe go round 1.
The only reason why that I say that is because the amount of conversations that happen at Media Day during the Super Bowl, you have to look at what happens immediately after those days. And it seems like there's a lot more hype on Jackson Dart where like, when I do mock drafts anymore, I won't take Jackson Dart. Like if he's available to me in round 3, I won't take him in a mock draft because he's not going to be there in round 3. He's going to, if you want him, you have to take him in the top 2 rounds. That's where you're going to have to go out and get him. In terms of these other players, Abdul Carter and Graham, I don't think Abdul Carter is going to be there at 6. Mason Graham, definitely an opportunity, but it really, truly depends on what you do in free agency. Let's go to Nabman. The Vikes coach said Sam has earned the right to be a free agent if he wants to do so. They want JJ to get his start. JJ would have been, if not injured, in my opinion. I actually disagree with that.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, though?
What? Also, huge trade potentially. Actually, it's not a trade. I'm an idiot. That's how much I don't know the NBA. Free agent 7-footer Alex Len to the Lakers. Big Lakers guy now.
There you go. This reminds me of almost like reverse Dak Prescott, where, you know, there was a guy who was coming in, supposed to be the starter. Tony Romo, you know, sure. J.J. McCarthy was not supposed to be the starter, but the favorite to be a starter. You know, he was the early round draft pick. Romo was the high paid quarterback. You have a guy come in who, you know, doesn't have a ton of success before. Dak, a 4th round rookie. Sam Darnold, a cheap free agent. And they both kind of take the job by the hands. The only difference between Dak and Sam, I think, in those years, Dak won a playoff game.
Yeah.
Sam did not.
Yeah, and again, Sam has earned the right to be a free agent, and that's also them saying that, you know, he's going to go out there and he's going to get paid. But at the same time, I actually don't know if JJ was a lock to start from the jump. I think their plan was to let Sam go out there. They didn't think Darnold was going to be as good as what he was. I really don't think that. Like, they were expecting Darnold to be decent. they probably were thinking Darnold was going to be what Gardner Minshew was supposed to be, right? Nothing great, but not 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Yeah. Let's go to Cameron. We are between a rock and a hard place. There isn't a lot of talent in free agency, nor is there a lot in the draft. I'm afraid we are going to overpay a lot for our next QB unless we roll with AOC for another year. You just can't roll with Aiden. Like, if you roll with Aiden, you give yourself 0% chance to win. And you can't do that again. Like, we were excited about the Raiders, and we're excited about the Raiders every offseason. But think about how many times every person on this show, and every show basically that covers the Raiders was saying, we have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, right? Like, you didn't think that we were actually going to win a Super Bowl. And for a team like Pete Carroll and all the moves that the Raiders made, even if it's not likely that they're going to win a Super Bowl, and quite frankly, I don't think that you're going to win one with Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, all these quarterbacks that we're mentioning, I don't think the Raiders would win a Super Bowl with them. But you definitely won't win one with Aiden O'Connell. And I get it. You don't want to overpay. However, though, you also owe it to your players on that team, right? Like fans all the time say, we should go with Aiden O'Connell. If the Raiders told Max Crosby, if the Raiders told a lot of these like big-name free agents that Aiden's going to be the starter, people aren't going to want to come play here. Right? If you told Max Crosby Aiden O'Connell's going to be the Raiders starting quarterback, he's gone. And one of the reasons why they're going to pay a QB in free agency is because you have to be able to prove that you have a plan, and that plan is to win right now. If you don't sign a quarterback in free agency and then you're just hoping that you're going to get to the draft, if I'm a free agent, I'm not going to sign with the Raiders just for the simple risk of it might be Aiden or Gardner Minshew starting again for you. So I know Raiders fans love Aiden, but you got to take your Raiders beer goggles off when looking at O'Connell, and O'Connell's not an option. The Raiders don't have a quarterback on their roster that will start this upcoming season. And that's just the truth, man. We got to get over it, and that's just how it is. Raider Rob, what up, Rob? We should get Garrett, Genty, and Bolton or Wagner next to Spillane. Mahomes has a clone of the Eagles in the draft. They'd be keying on Genty like Saquon. I mean, the Chiefs aren't going to get Ashton Genty. He's going to go way earlier than that. But you got to be able to build your offensive line. I mean, look at what the Chiefs did. They literally were able to hold Saquon Barkley to 25 carries, 57 yards, and they still got their shit pushed in, which proves to me, again, you can win in the NFL when you don't have a great running game. It's just there's a lot of other things that need to go into the equation there. But if you're talking about Myles Garrett, Genty, Bolton, Nick Bolton, why would you sign Nick Bolton and then bring back Robert Spillane? They're kind of the exact same linebacker. I would say I would rather just have Spillane. And then Bobby Wagner. Again, Bobby Wagner, if they don't bring back Spillane. If you want to run a two linebacker set kind of like the Raiders did last season, then I would say Bobby Wagner and Robert Spillane would be an interesting duo. But Myles Garrett's not going to happen. Let's go to Ryan James. The possibility of Sam Darnold somehow really excites me and also scares the shit out of me at the same time. Sam with Chip Kelly. Ryan, I'm with you. Could not agree with this statement anymore. And it's a cold hard fact of I am confident in Chip Kelly's ability, which is why I am okay with the idea of Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, because in my mind, I can paint a picture of how it works. Not saying it's going to work, but I can at least put together a plan of how I think it works. But because I'm confident in Chip Kelly, Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, that makes me more confident in somebody like Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold by himself, like if it would have been Sam Darnold with Darrell Bevell, I would have said no freaking way on that. That would have scared the absolute hell out of me. And you go back, and it's funny. I put out a video like 2 days before the Raiders hired Kelly, and I stood up on this show and I said, I don't want anything to do with Sam Darnold. The Raiders brought in Chip Kelly, and then I sat up here and I said, now Sam Darnold's one of my favorite quarterbacks for Chip Kelly.
I think of Sam Darnold just like Nick Foles that 1 year with Chip Kelly in Philadelphia.
I mean,
not mobile, but
I think Raiders fans are worried Matt Flynn's going to happen.
I think a lot of people just think Chip Kelly, and they immediately go,
Mariota.
Oregon offense,
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota, Dennis Dixon, those guys who are just like running option quarterbacks.
The quarterback that is the most, the closest thing to Will Howard is Sam Darnold. The offense the Raiders are going to try to implement is going to be a very run-heavy offense, like they did at Ohio State. Also, though, it's a spread you out, throw the ball down the field type of offense as well. Like, you need to be able to do that, and the quarterback in free agency that has that skill set for what Chip Kelly wants and what the Raiders want, it is Sam Darnold. However, though, I'd be interested to see what the offense looks like with Justin Fields.
It's always been you, Sam.
Like, if you told me right now the Raiders try to build a team the way the Philadelphia Eagles do, Justin Fields at QB, you go out and let's say you find a good running back.
Well, I mean, if you're
maybe like an Ashton Genty.
If you're building it like the Eagles did, what you would do is you would get a quarterback like a Sam Darnold. You would draft Jalen Milroe in the second round.
I know what you're gonna say.
And just see how he does.
Sure.
And keep on throwing darts at late round, second round quarterbacks.
I mean, that would be something that I'd be on the board for, where if you told me you can bring in Jalen Milroe, and this is something that I talked about on Rundown's podcast a few weeks ago, and it's something I've talked about on this podcast. Jalen Milroe's an alien, and if you let Milroe learn from some of these great offensive-minded guys and then let him develop, because I get it, he was not great this past season. Much better with Nick Saban. I think losing Nick Saban had to have some sort of impact.
Yeah. If we're signing an ex-Jet quarterback, I want Aaron Rodgers. Darnold is risky. He's only had one good year. Carr stats in 2021 were very similar.
What year? I mean, Derek Carr's never had stats similar to what Sam Darnold did, so I guess I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. In 2021, DC had a good year, but DC has never had a year since 2016. Like, I would say Derek Carr's season he had in 2016, 2015, I would make the argument you could put up there with Sam just because the NFL is much different 10 years later, essentially. But, like, Derek Carr in 2021 wasn't better and isn't better than Sam Darnold right now. Like, and that's why I don't understand people that would rather trade for Derek Carr instead of signing Sam Darnold. I mean, how about, I'm going to ask y'all, Sam Darnold and Derek Carr, let's say both are $30 million per year. If both are $30 million per year, I say Sam Darnold, and it's not all that close.
I mean, for our channel, I say Derek Carr. But.
Sure, if I'm trying to put money in my pocket, Derek Carr's the right answer. But then, same thing with Rodgers. Like, Rodgers scares the hell out of me because he's not a culture builder. Like, that's the biggest risk the Raiders could do is by bringing in Aaron Rodgers. I think so. Real Cowboy, I've seen several mock drafts with Shador sliding to 6 or further. How realistic do you think that is? The amount of conversations that have Shador Sanders sliding in the draft, I think he'll be there at 6. And I talked about this probably about, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that I said was, let's wait to see what happens to Shador's stock after Super Bowl, Media Day, Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl. And it doesn't surprise me. People that have got to see him up close, his stock's gone down a little bit.
What's weird about
Super accurate passer, though.
I feel like, teams are very guarded in terms of, like, the draft and what they think about guys and stuff like that. For the Titans head coach to come out and be like, Shador reminds me of Joe Burrow, seems like very much smoke and mirrors trade bait.
Absolutely.
It seems like he's like, dude, he's a Joe Burrow type quarterback. And you know what? I guess if you want to trade a couple first rounders, we'll move back and pass on Joe Burrow. Like, that's what it seems like he's trying to play the game of. Oh my God, there's so many great options at 1 when we know this year's draft is not
if you hooked up the
Titan as last year's draft.
If you hooked up that Titans coach on a lie detector, and if it came up truthful that he thought Shador Sanders was Joe Burrow, you fire him immediately. Seriously, I mean, and I get what he's doing. He also said that we would draft a generational talent, right? Like, generational talent ain't Shador. It ain't Cam. Quite frankly, I legitimately think the only generational talent in this year's draft is Travis Hunter, though I could make an argument for Abdul Carter because I do think he is that truly special of a player. Though don't tell Warren Sapp because Warren Sapp's never heard of a good edge rusher from Penn State. If Stafford is available, it's not worth trading up. Well, again, Warren Sapp's a clown. It's not worth trading up this year for a QB. Keep number 6, add a defensive player, draft a backup in the second round like Milroe or Dart. I don't totally disagree with you, right? But if you tell me right now the Raiders crush free agency, and I mean we go out and we sign plenty of starters and we need a little bit more depth, then I actually don't mind the idea of trying to move up and go get your guy. I mean, if you have a guy, go get him, right? Because last year I said that I would trade 4 first-round picks. I did. I said if Antonio Pierce wanted Jaden Daniels, I said if that's your guy, you give up 4 first-round picks and you go get Jaden Daniels. And everybody was like, that's a crazy idea. And it is. It's a crazy statement to make. But y'all know how I feel about Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's going to be a great quarterback depending on where he goes. But I think Cam Ward with Chip Kelly,
Could you imagine?
that's the type of QB Chip Kelly would want. Like, that's the type of quarterback that I think the nation would want. And I get it. 4 first-round picks is crazy. But if I looked at all y'all right now, would you give up 4 first-round picks for Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury? You're a moron if you say no.
Yeah.
It's about going out and getting your guy. So, again, we're talking so much about the draft, and I can't wait for the draft. But free agency has to happen, and then draft falls in the line.
Thanks for watching, brother. I really do appreciate it, but Cam Ward equals Lamar is the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, I don't see that one at all. I would say, I mean, honestly,
there's one thing they have in common.
Sure. Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with football.
I'm trying to think of a better comp for Cam off the top of my head. Like, I mean, he's
Ben
got
Roethlisberger. He reminds me of a Ben Roethlisberger.
I actually don't.
A big guy who can move around, can sling it, has good arm strength, good precision.
The guy I was going to say was Steve McNair, but I kind of like Ben Roethlisberger. I like that one a lot, quite frankly. And I'll try to get you guys a better comp for Cam, but I don't like we had the number 1 pick at one point, and it was Jamarcus Russell, and I get trading up scares the shit out of people, right? But I could also make this argument. The Raiders crushed this past year's draft. Do we agree with that? You got Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers-Johnson. We crushed this past year's draft. It didn't matter. Right? We still won 4 games. Quite frankly, I think we should have only won maybe 2 if the Saints and the Jags have their players out there. And yes, going best player available is sometimes the right route to do. But if you told me right now that all it costs is a first-round pick, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 7th, which is a trade that I kind of talked about in the video that I did earlier yesterday. I mean, that's a trade that if you're the Raiders, you got to consider. You still have another 3rd-round pick. You have plenty of other draft picks. Like, if I'm the Raiders and I trade up for a quarterback at number 1 in Cam Ward, and I go, crap, I just lost, let's say, 3 to 4 other picks. I have 3 6th-round picks. I'm going to try to use those picks to try to move back up and fill out space. But you also have enough money in free agency to be able to make shit happen.
Yeah, Cam averaged 3.4 yards per carry on 200 yards rushing this year. Not bad, but I would never say, oh, that dude's a running quarterback.
Well, I don't know if you can look at that, but.
What?
Because you can't look at, I wouldn't look at rushing yards for a quarterback and say 3.4, and that's just because I hate the way college football does it.
Oh, because of the sacks.
Because when you get sacked, you lose rushing yards.
Even still, he's not getting 500 yards on the ground.
No, and you don't need him to. I think all the Raiders do, you just need somebody that can run the football when shit happens, right? Like, that's what makes Mahomes deadly. He can throw the ball down the field, but when he needs to tuck it and run, he can tuck it and run. Now, man, who we put in on the trade block to get more cap room? Diablo is gone, no question. He's a free agent, though. Epps, free agent. Jack Jones is somebody that you could do. That $92 million could be $100 if
I'll
need
give
be.
you a name.
I mean, I got my name, but
we'll say it on 3. Ready? I think we have the same name. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Gardner
Andre
Minshew.
James.
Ooh, Andre James is a good one.
What did you say?
Gardner Minshew.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Minshew's going to be somebody, and this is going to be another video that I do. I do it every year, so be on the lookout for it. It's going to be if we move on from certain amount of players. Like last year, I did a video on how the Raiders could create essentially like $20 million in salary cap space. Off the top of my head right now, I would say if I looked at the Raiders' books and I looked at some of the contracts that they have, I believe I could sit down right now and save you $20 million in salary cap space. You have to move some people, no doubt about it, but there's going to be opportunities. Like the Raiders are going to be able to free up some extra money. But then also you can't look at that full 92 and go, we can use all that 92 in salary cap or in free agency. You have to save, if you have 10 draft picks, you have to save probably about 12 to 13 million to also be able to pay your draft picks. Let's go to Born a Raiders fan. I definitely don't want Derek Carr, but Sam is risky, man. I know Sam's risky. And I don't want Derek Carr either. Here's the thing. Any quarterback the Raiders bring in this offseason, there's going to be risk tied to it, right? You can't look me dead in the eyes and say, if we sign Justin Fields, there's no risk. If we sign Russell Wilson, there's no risk. If we go out and get Aaron Rodgers, no risk. Yeah, there's risk in every QB out there. But if you believe in what this staff is, and this is the first time since I've done this show that I believe in the offensive staff of the Raiders, and I believe in Chip Kelly. I believe in Greg Olsen as a quarterback coach. Like, Greg Olsen as a quarterback coach, people don't realize how good of a QB coach he is. And if I am so confident in, like, Patrick Graham, Rob Leonard.
He does great in the booth.
Who? Oh, Olsen. It's a different Olsen. There was some Raiders fan that was like, why are you excited that we hired that tight end to be our quarterback coach? And I was like, bro, you're not even close. John, F. Rodgers equals team cancer. I don't disagree. Venthrak, after that Super Bowl, I have a nickname for the Chiefs defense. The red carpet. Just getting walked on, dude. What up, Venthrak, the newest member of Mount Raidermore? I got skin bone. Question time. Skinbone 78. What is their strategy in free agency? Do they pick up talent and fill holes, or is it more about depth and then use the draft best player available strategy? To me, you're going to look at which guys you can bring back first, right? If I'm the Raiders, the first three players I'm trying to bring back are Adam Butler, Robert Spillane, Trevon Merrick. So to me, I get my green dot linebacker. I get a 25-26 versatile safety, somebody that I like a lot that's 26 years old. And I also am able to bring back a 30-year-old Adam Butler who's got a lot of continuity with Christian Wilkins. It's also going to make a guy like Max Crosby happy. Okay, let's say that in total is probably going to be somewhere around $30 million in total of salary cap space if I had to guess right now off the top of my head. So you go out and you make that happen. Then I'm concentrating on the trenches. I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to get another edge rusher. I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to get an offensive lineman. If I have to overspend and overpay for those two players, I'm okay with it. If you told me I got to pay $20 million a year for Josh Sweat, Adam, that's $50 million in total, and then I got to go out and let's get a Mekhi Becton, that's $10 million. Now we're sitting somewhere, maybe we have $30 million left in salary cap space. Then you go out and you start getting some of these, smaller position guys, a little bit more depth. But with 10 picks in the draft, you can fill a lot of depth late in that draft, right? Where the way that I would look at it for the Raiders, you have 5 picks in the top 107. Those 5 picks in the top 107, I'm using those 5 picks to find starters. Those are going to be fine starters. Whether I'm trading up, I'm trying to find some extra spots, those picks are starters. The 5th round pick, the 3 and the 6th, and then the 7th, those are 5 picks that I'm going to use to build depth. Depth at whatever positions I have. So if I don't bring back another Divine Diablo, or if I don't bring back a Marcus Epps, or if I'm unable to bring back a Malcolm Kuntz, Caleb Von Chasen, I'm going to use some of those picks there to be able to fill some of those other holes that the Raiders are just obviously going to have with 28 free agents. Let's go to another one rolling in here from Steve-O. Assuming we knock free agency out of the park, sign either Darnold or Fields, etc., if Tech is there at 6, would you pull the trigger on him? If you told me the Raiders crush free agency, right? If they go out and they get a starting offensive lineman or 2, you get everything that I just said, like everything on my whole rant I just talked about, then I would consider taking Tech, absolutely. Like, he's the best wide receiver in this year's draft, and I've scouted him a little bit, but I haven't looked at a lot of receivers that early just because it doesn't seem – I'm not interested in getting a receiver right now because we don't have a quarterback. I would rather the Raiders – if you have Darnold, I guess yes. My answer to this one is yes. If we crush free agency, then I am okay with the idea of bringing in McMillan out of Arizona.
Magic Matt.
What's up, man? Fields the lowest risk possible, and it's a high reward. Yes and no. Where Fields, you're just saying that he's the lowest risk because it's the lowest amount of money that you're going to have to invest. To me, though, the person that I would say is the safest bet in terms of winning football games, is probably a Russell Wilson. You could make an argument maybe even for a Sam Darnold, but I would say the team, if you ask me right now, out of Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, if our record, we finish in the top 10, who's the quarterback that's most likely to put the Raiders back in the top 10? I would say Justin Fields, just because he's not a great thrower of the football. And Chip Kelly's offense is predicated on being able to stretch the field and throw it down the field, and Fields is not good at that. Like, that's just a cold, hard fact. Fields is not a good thrower of the football down the field. Is there a high reward, though? Oh, absolutely. He is a Ferrari of an athlete. He's the best runner at the quarterback position. Pure runner, he's better than Lamar Jackson. He's more skilled as a pure runner, I think, even more than a Michael Vick. Vick was way shiftier. Lamar's a better overall QB. But if you're talking about just a running back at the quarterback spot, it's Justin Fields. Alex, Mitch, did you put my name on that helmet for the 100 I sent on Sunday? Helmet. Am I tripping? I'm going to be honest with you, Alex. I don't even know what you're talking about. We didn't have a helmet. Am I missing? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. We were we had Raiders Report hats that we were giving away. But in terms of helmet, am I tripping? I don't remember a helmet. And don't get me wrong, that Super Bowl was a little bit cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
My voice is still...
Oh, dude, I'm tired from that day. I really am. He said, never mind. I mean, you sent this in for a reason. I just don't know what you're referring to. If you sent me $100, whether it be on... That's the thing. I guess I just don't know what you're referring to. I appreciate you banging, but helmet, I'm not sure. Should we still spend money on defense to help Max? Yeah, absolutely. You have money to spend. You got to build defense. Like, you're losing more pieces on defense than you're losing on offense. I mean, the Raiders are losing Adam Butler, Malcolm Kuntz, Caleb Von Chasen, Robert Spillane, Divine Diablo, Nate Hobbs, Marcus Epps, Trevon Merrick, Isaiah Paul Lamau. That's a lot of players right there, man, right? Did I say Adam Butler? I don't even know. Like, we're losing so many pieces on defense that I don't really think people understand how many pieces we are losing on the defensive side of the football.
So many.
And then we're going to move on. I think we're going to move on from Jack Jones. I mean, Jack Jones is...
I think it's about that time, Mitch.
I think it's about that time.
Everybody, let's get through the next 15 minutes with, not yelling at each other.
Good luck.
Not hating each other. Let's not turn the chat into Philly after they won the title. That's all I'm asking. Let's not lose.
Grease the polls.
Yeah, I'm greasing the polls right now.
Yep.
Everybody act calm.
I mean, I don't see why anybody wouldn't act calm talking about Derek Carr. Coming up, we're going to talk about Derek Carr here on today's show. You ready?
I'm ready.
Y'all ready to get it going? Coming up, let's talk a little bit DC here on the Raiders Report. Yes or no, I want every single person to answer this question here on today's show. Should the Raiders consider bringing back Derek Carr this season? Coming up on the Raiders Report, I'm going to give you my answer on whether or not the Silver and Black should bring back DC. Respectfully, no thank you. I'm going to tell you why it would be dumb to bring back Derek Carr. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report. And for anybody that has watched this show or has a pulse, you probably knew what my answer was going to be there. But my job as the host of the Raiders Report and my job as a Raiders Report fan is when people ask me stuff, when I see rumors being circulated out there, and the amount of times I got asked in the last week, should the Raiders make a move for Derek Carr, I said, I got to talk about it on today's show. Before I get into all the reasons why it literally doesn't make any sense for the Raiders to bring back Derek Carr, I got to give a huge shout out to our sponsor here, Panda Sups. If anybody needs some new workout stuff, code FKC, 25% off at pandasups.com. That link's going to be down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So for those that don't know what the latest is right now around the Saints quarterback, there's multiple reports out there that the Saints are looking to move on from Carr this offseason. Don't know if it's going to happen because when you're already being asked to take contract, to take less money, and you're saying, no, you don't want to do it, you can kind of read the tea leaves there a little bit. But the New Orleans Saints just hired Kellen Moore. I'm a believer that Kellen Moore is going to want to bring in his brand new regime. And quite frankly, I think it's something that he probably asked for. And if I'm a new coach, I want to be able to go out and handpick my own quarterback because it's also a brand new offensive coordinator. But if the Saints can't trade him, they could absolutely end up cutting him, just like the Raiders had to do just a few seasons ago. And I know anytime I bring up the name Derek Carr, people are going to say, Mitch, you're just a hater. Let me make this very clear. There has never been a player that has helped my career, this show, grow more than Derek Carr. And I have nothing but respect for DC. His family doesn't like me, but honestly, I think if you ask DC, him and I are probably cool. So coming up here is why I'm not going to bring back Carr, because it's just dumb, man. The first reason is this. I'm not trading for him. And I recently saw on my Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365, Instagram, there's this tweet floating around. Shout out to my guy, Trizzy Trace. He's like, make this trade, you coward. And I'm like, I don't want anything to do with Carr. Because here's the thing. Even if the Saints looked at me and they said, I'll give you Carr for a 7th, I'm not making that trade. I don't care if it's a 7th round pick in the 2026 NFL draft. I'm not doing it because there are better options in free agency. Sam Darnold is a better quarterback right now than Derek Carr. Why would I go out and trade, even if it's a 7th round pick, to pay DC $30 million per year when I know that I can find other options? I'd rather have Justin Fields. I'd rather have Russell Wilson. You can make an argument that Carr's better than those guys, but at the price tag, he's not. What's going to be interesting about New Orleans, though, is this. They have to make a decision on Carr soon because he makes $30 million guaranteed money March 15th, 2025. So that's 3 days after the brand new league year. So the Saints are going to try to move on from him way before even that. I would say you're probably going to have a decision on DC in the next 2 weeks or so. But for the Raiders, let's say they do make a deal for Carr. And this goes for any team that tries to make a deal for number 4. Carr would be a $30 million cap hit in 2025, which, not going to lie to you, $30 million for DC, a quarterback of his caliber, in his last 27 games, 40 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I'm not going to lie, that's not that bad of a value. If Carr was a free agent and said, hey, $30 million, you could entertain the idea a little bit. Here's the other issues, though. His cap hit in 2026 is 61.5, $0 million guaranteed, so you'd be able to move on from him. Trading for Carr means you're trading for a 1-year stopgap. And if I'm going to go out and get a bridge, I want a bridge that I know I'm going to keep around at least a little bit longer, because if you're the Raiders and you make a deal for Carr, let's say you go out and you make that trade for Carr, then you know you're going to move on from him, which could put you at a potential risk of throwing out that other quarterback that you draft a little bit early. I would rather you sign a bridge like a Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, whatever, put them on a little bit of a contract, 2-3 years. 2 years would be how I'd like it. And then they leave, the new QB takes over. Here's, though, the trade idea that I saw on social media. I got to say it, this is not my trade idea, but this is the value that a lot of people think that the Saints are looking for right now for DC. It's a 4th round pick. I'm not going to give up my 4th round pick for Carr because I don't want to take on his contract, and I don't want to have to give up a 4th for a QB that I don't think, even if he was available in free agency, would be the number 1 guy. And that's just the truth, y'all. If Carr was on the free agent market, he's not the top option out there. So why would I trade for somebody who wouldn't even be the top option when I don't have to give up any draft capital? I will tell you this, though. I've done a lot of crazy shows on the Raiders Report. I went live for 26 straight hours when the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. We went live for 9 hours when the Raiders traded for Devontae Adams. We've been live a lot, and I've done a lot of crazy. Hell, the Kenyon Drake show is still one of the craziest shows I've ever done. If the Raiders bring back Derek Carr, it will be the craziest live show of all time. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. But here's the thing. I don't think it's going to happen. I do got to give a shout-out, though, to the Noti gang. I see Matt R., Roger Chandler, Anthony Katab, Marcus Gilbert, Dylan Erickson. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Turning on your notifications and taking pride in trying to be one of the very first people down in the comments of every video that I drop. Let's go to another reason here why bringing back DC. It's dumb and it doesn't make sense. He's never won anything. And this is not a shocker to anybody out there, but why are we still talking about bringing a quarterback that has had the amount of years that DC has had to win and has never won, right? Like, you wouldn't go to a restaurant that's been bad for 10 years. You wouldn't go to it anymore. But because Derek gives you that 2015, 2016 feel, I look at Derek Carr and I look at him as he is the high school sweetheart to a lot of Raiders fans, that she was once beautiful in high school and you might have had a crush on her, but now 10 years later you're like, she's got 4 kids, kind of banged up a little bit, and it's just not what you're interested in anymore. Carr is the only quarterback, though, to lose to 30 different teams, and if he would have played against the Raiders this year, it could have even been 31, but the Saints did lose, so you can even make an argument that, Derek Carr. So he was 14-13 with the Saints in a terrible division over the past 2 seasons. I don't want to bring back somebody that has never won a playoff game, that can't win in clutch situations, that realistically to me isn't a great leader of men. And again, if we're comparing him to the options that the Raiders could have, let's just talk about winning percentage in the past year. Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson all had higher winning percentages. I'll admit the Vikings were probably a better football team. The Steelers were probably a better football team. That division, the NFC North, much more difficult. The AFC North, much more difficult. And Derek, when he was healthy and when that offense was healthy, did look pretty good with Clint Kubiak. I'm not trying to get it twisted, but if I'm going to pay somebody, I want them to win. And Derek Carr has proven to you that he's not good enough to win in the NFL. This is not anything new that we're talking about here. I got more reasons coming up of why. It doesn't make any sense to bring back DC. Before I get to those points, though, huge shout out to our sponsor, man, Panda Sups. Use code FKC, 25% off at pandasups.com. I wanted to do something a little bit different today because I know I've had them for a while, and there's a lot of different products that you can get from Panda. If you want to go to the website, you'll see this. It says Shop Panda. So whether you're looking for protein, pre-workout, some BCAAs, maybe a fat burner, if you want to get some greens to get a healthier gut, some nootropics to help you focus, if you need help sleeping, take some sleepies, or if you want some awesome Panda gear, like I got the shaker here, you can get it too. If you want to try out some of their best-selling products, you can see their Pandemic, which is a pre-workout. Their pre-workout is great stuff. It's strong for people who do work out. Their brand new protein is amazing. It tastes like blueberry muffins. It's got actual freeze-dried blueberries in it. If you want to try some of their brand new products, their new fat burner is pretty wild. And then I love that they're starting to hook you guys up with some multivitamins if you want a multivitamin. Also, I should mention this. If anybody, when you go to pandasups.com, if you use code FKC, not only are you going to be able to save 25% off, but this deal is for the nation and the nation only. If you spend more than $100, the guy who owns Panda, diehard Raiders fan, he's going to throw in that bag and a shaker as well. It might be black or the white one. It might even be the red one. I don't know which one he has, but if you spend more than $100, you get a bag, you get a shaker, and you get free shipping on domestic orders. So I believe that means everybody in the U.S. I believe is what that means. I got to get that one clear. But pandasups.com, code FKC, 25% off. I have lost 10 pounds since this year. And I'm trying to get into my wedding shape, and these are the products I'm using. And if I trusted to get into my wedding shape, I hope that you guys trusted to, get in your better shape as well. Let's go to another reason here of why I'm not bringing back Derek Carr. He's not willing to take a team-friendly deal. That scares me because this is going to be a team that's trying to build a roster and trying to do the best things for the team. I know that Derek Carr is a great stand-up human being, but I'm not interested in taking a greedy DC. If the only way I would even entertain the idea of bringing back Carr is if you can get him on a team-friendly deal, and he doesn't want to take a team-friendly deal. He still believes that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he wants to be paid like it. This is what Derek had to say on January 7th. I wouldn't take a pay cut. Yeah, I wouldn't do that, especially with what I put on tape. Would I restructure? Absolutely. I'll always help the team that way. But there's some things that you put out there that you earned. Even in some cases, it could be even worse, but I felt confident when I signed in that this would give the team the best flexibility at the time. But there's always a kind of respect as a quarterback you're like, we still were in that respectful lane. My point is this. For Derek Carr to say some of the stuff that he did, I'm not going to totally disagree with him, right? But if you're saying that you're not going to take a pay cut, that tells me you want to get paid again, and you want to get paid what you want to make, which is $50 million. And don't get me wrong, if you told me I had the opportunity to make $50 million, I would do it in a flipping heartbeat. But the Saints, they want to restructure his contract. So I find it strange that he's saying that he's willing to redo it, but then if he was willing to redo it, then the Saints would restructure his contract and they would figure it out. So that's going to be something to watch. But the fact that he still thinks that he's a top quarterback in the NFL, I think sometimes, as a man, as a human being, you got to look yourself in the mirror and you got to take a little bit of a humble pill. And DC just isn't able to do that. He also said this, We're good. Build the team. But yeah, I wouldn't take anything less to do this. It's hard enough putting our bodies through it, and you're trying to get everything you can for your family for it. I got to take care of myself. Then the rest after that is really out of my hands. I don't blame Derek Carr for wanting to provide for his family. I want to provide for my family. Chuggs wants to provide for his family. Y'all want to provide for your family. But I don't understand why NFL players say what they do sometimes, because acting like he hasn't made more than enough money to take care of his family, their families, generational type of wealth is a little bit of an eye roll for me. Again, I get the idea of know your worth, but don't. I almost thought it was a little bit of a cop-out. Instead of Derek saying, I want to be paid a certain thing, then just say that. Stand 10 toes on it and say, I want to be paid this because I feel like I deserve it. Don't go the cop-out answer and say, well, I want to be paid this because I got to take care of my family. You can take care of your family at $1 million. I promise you that. That is not hard to do in today's day and age. But to me, I look at DC, and I'll say this. He's not built to lead an NFL team, and he's not built to lead this Raiders team. I need somebody that is a leader of men. And if it really comes down to it, in the AFC West, with all the coaches we have, with the quarterbacks that we have, you go out there with Derek Carr and you have a 0% chance to win the AFC West. I need somebody in the huddle that provides confidence to my team. And DC just doesn't have that killer instinct in him since the injury he sustained many, many years ago. Let's go to the last reason, and this is the biggest one. There's better free agent options out there. And I'm not trading for somebody when there's better options out there. And like I said before, if the Saints move on from DC, they cut him, and he's out there on the open market, you can at least entertain the idea. But if Derek wants to get paid what Derek's thinking about getting paid, I'm not interested in that. I would rather pay Justin Fields. I would rather pay Russell Wilson. I would rather pay Sam Darnold the exact same amount of money that I would pay Derek Carr, because I believe Darnold is better right now. I also believe Darnold's a healthier pick. Like, am I going to invest $40 million a year in a quarterback that played only 10 games last season and has battled multiple injuries his last 3 seasons? Yeah, he was able to play through some injury, but at the same time, he's been battled. Where I'm telling you this right now, and this is based on talent and projected cost. Let's say Derek's a free agent. This is how I would rank it for the Raiders and Chip Kelly. Darnold would be my number one option because I think he's the best fit for what Chip Kelly wants. And the Raiders have enough draft picks, and they have more salary cap to go out and be able to build around Darnold. And again, $30 million in my mind for Darnold. Justin Fields, $10 million. Russell Wilson, $15 million. Derek Carr is somewhere around $30 to $35 million. And this is how I would rank them based on talent, based on cost, based on fit, based on building this team going forward. We know Derek's not the long-term option. So the only free agent quarterback that I'd be willing to pay $25 million or more per year, it's Sam Darnold. That might change. If the Falcons move on from Kirk Cousins, if he's healthy, we'll see how that goes. Geno Smith, that could be another one. Matthew Stafford, I don't even know. That could be one. Aaron Rodgers, different conversation, right? But right now, as it stands, the only free agent quarterback that I'm paying more than $25 million is Sam Darnold. And if I know I can get Sam Darnold at 30, 25, maybe 35, then it just doesn't make sense to go out and trade for Derek Carr. So in conclusion, trading for DC is just dumb. The only people that think it's smart probably are watching another show. There are better free agent options out there, and I love and I respect Derek Carr. But it is time to move on as a nation. We got to stop bringing them up. Just like it's time for you to move on from your high school sweetheart and just get your life going. So I started the show with this, and I'm going to end the show with this. Should the Raiders consider bringing back Derek Carr this year, yes or no? I'm up here to tell you, hell flipping no.
It was good. I only had to put one person in timeout.
That's a shock.
I mean,
quite frankly, I would have.
Shout out to the nation.
If you would have told me more or less on 5 people, I would have taken the more.
Yeah, I only had to do one, so
that's impressive.
Shout out to the nation.
Yep. The 508 says, I'd get Carr as a backup on a vet minimum deal. Here's the thing. If that's what you're going to do, just get Aiden O'Connell on a vet minimum deal, right? You got Aiden at 1.2. Aiden would be better for the locker room than Derek Carr. You can't tell me otherwise. I would make the argument if all you need is a backup quarterback, I'd rather have Aiden O'Connell at 1.2 than Derek Carr just because of what that person needs to be for the locker room and from a practice standpoint. I mean, DC quit on the Raiders. And don't get me wrong, Josh McDaniels kind of made him quit on the team. But DC stepped away from the Raiders because he couldn't handle being benched by Josh. Josh also was a dick in the way that he did it. But at the same time, if you were paying me the amount of money Derek Carr was making back in 2022, I wouldn't give up on my team. That's just me, though. I wouldn't give up on my team. And Derek gave up on his team. Derek left. That's a fact. Again, it was a shitty way of it. I would explain the Derek Carr situation kind of very similar to the way I would explain what happened to AP last year, where AP was dealt a horrible hand, but he still played the hand wrong. Derek Carr was dealt a horrible situation, but he still didn't handle that situation like a grown man. Like, both can be true. Both can be true. Papa T, AOC is Carr 2.0. No, he's not. I mean, as much as I think people overhype Derek Carr, Aiden's not close to DC. And that's a fact. Like, he's not. Maybe Aiden ends up getting better and better and better, but comparing the two, Derek's still a much better quarterback than Aiden. Alex D, providing for your family is a cop-out excuse when you're living in luxury. And I agree with you, Alex. And that's kind of what I said where, like, I'm not going to blame anybody here. If anybody watching the show right now is like, I'm doing X, Y, Z to provide for my family, we all go, yeah, man, you do that. When guys that have made over, I mean, Derek's probably now in his career, he's probably made, again, this is me taking a guess here, a shot in the dark. He's got to be somewhere around $250 million. If that's not enough money to take care of your family, then quite frankly, I need to sit you down with a financial advisor and you need to make better life decisions. But and I know DC's a responsible guy.
Probably need Rocket money.
I definitely probably do. And that's the thing, I know DC's a responsible dude. I do. And I know that he's probably somebody that manages his money well. Does he have 4 kids? From last time I remember, yes. Does he got to be able to help his wife? Yeah, I mean.
If this was Phillip Rivers, I would get it.
No, I still wouldn't get it. Right? I mean, it's one of those things where $1 million is more than enough money to take care of your family and a family of 4.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on. You gave me right now, I actually think if you gave me $10 million right now, I wouldn't have to work another day in my life. I'd be able to live off that money. I could have 4 kids, and Alex and I could provide.
I live off the land.
I could do that for the rest of my life. I could. $10 million. You don't think you could?
For the rest of your life, you don't make another penny.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. You got to make life decisions. If I made $1 million and I moved back to Danville, I'm good. Rest of my life. I could buy a home. I could buy a home right now in Danville for probably about $120,000.
Would you be able to put all your kids through college?
Depending on where they went, sure. I mean, some schools aren't super expensive. Some schools are. Again, it's about life decisions. It's not, I wouldn't want to do that. I would still obviously want to make more money, and I'm not the type of person where if you gave me $1 million, I'm just, quitting. That's not my mentality. But you can make it happen. We got a few super chats to get to here on the show, and then we got one more segment to do, and then I'm getting the F out of here. Lumpkin, Mitch, would you rather be a 2-time Super Bowl quarterback MVP or win the World Series and pitch a no-hitter? It's a great question.
Pitcher.
No, because one of these is I win 2 Super Bowls. The other is I only win 1 World Series.
But you threw a no-hitter.
I don't care.
In the World Series?
2 Super Bowl rings.
I'm also thinking baseball players get paid more and you're not having CTE.
I don't know if it gets paid more than a quarterback that's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs. To me...
Oh, dude, I guarantee you do. Do you see the contracts? Dude, guys like Juan Soto are getting $500 million.
He's not a pitcher. Look at pitcher contracts. Pitcher contracts aren't getting $60 million a year. If I win a Super Bowl MVP, I'm getting $50 million at least. Jacob deGrom might make $50 million. Again, I don't follow baseball all that closely, but this I don't care.
Shohei Ohtani gets paid.
Shohei Ohtani,
$70 million.
Get out of here. All right, give me a different example. Give me any other example minus arguably the greatest baseball player of all time.
Zach Wheeler makes $42 million a year.
Okay, imagine.
And he doesn't get CTE.
I mean, look, quarterbacks, though, don't take nearly the amount of hits. I mean, apparently I don't give up any hits either. If you told me 2 World Series and one's a perfect game, I would take that. But, again, I'm signing up. This is 1 championship compared to 2. I'll take 2 titles. It's a good question, though. I like it. I'm a baseball guy, but I love football. Rebel, today is Mary Ann's birthday. Happy birthday to Mary Ann.
Wow.
We didn't sing her last year, 2-year anniversary since I subscribed. Rebel, message me on Venmo your shipping address, and I'll send you the Mary Ann jersey. Chuggs and I will sign it. I'll send that out tomorrow, but I need your help here. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mary Ann.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Mary Ann. Spam those HBDs down below. Shout out to Rebel, Montana. Can't Control Life says, my pets are tripping. At first, I thought that said my pants are dripping because of our singing, but I now realize that they hate our voices, so it's all good, man. Martin, Raider Sancho, Raider Rob, Nabman, seriously. Shout out to all of y'all. Also, if anybody does have a Raiders Report jersey and you want me to send it to you, I'm going to, periodically throughout the year, essentially this. If you want your jersey, send me $1 on Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. I will send you the $1 back. But I'm trying to see people who, want their jersey backs. I just don't have everybody's shipping address. So I know a bunch of people have Raiders Report jerseys. If you want me to send it, Chuggs and I will sign it. I just need you to send me $1 on Venmo. Put your shipping address in there, first and last name. Once I get it, I'll send you the $1 back, and I'll send you the jersey. So, something to keep in mind. I got another super chat coming in from Born a Raiders fan. And then after this one, I want to get into the final segment on today's show. And I think it's going to be one that surprises some people. But I hope that what I say makes sense.
Oh, my God.
Well, apparently I need water. Happy birthday to Mary Ann. Born a Raider fan says Sam is a bad choice.
That's Sam's.
Get a quarterback who's been a proven, consistent productive player. This is a critical year to stay, critical year for Max to stay in Las Vegas if we're not successful. Here's the thing, though. The decision on Max is going to happen before the decision on Sam Darnold, right? Max will get his contract extension before we have to make a decision. And I know that you want something proven. Here's the thing. There's nobody that's proven, right? There isn't. And I get Russell Wilson won many years ago, but Russell Wilson the past 3 seasons has been good. You may argue Sam Darnold was better last year.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, not proven. Geno Smith, I mean, no matter what path you want to go down, you don't know what you're going to go down. And I think the reason why you should be confident in somebody like Sam Darnold is, honestly, the video I'm about to do next. The video I'm going to do next.
That's what we call a tease.
Is literally why, I would have faith in Sam. I don't have faith in Sam Darnold by himself. I don't have faith in Justin Fields by himself. I don't have faith in Russell Wilson by himself. I don't have faith in really any quarterback option that's not Cam Ward. And that's me being real.
I believe.
But just like people didn't believe in Baker Mayfield, he ended up being a good quarterback, right? Just like last season, people didn't believe in Sam Darnold. Sometimes it's more about the structure and everything else going on, right? People didn't believe in Jared Goff. Found a good spot with the Lions. People didn't believe in Matthew Stafford. Found a good home with the Rams. A lot of times it's about fit. And the Raiders are a perfect fit for any QB like Sam Darnold or any quarterback out there on the free agency market. So I hear you. Sam by himself could be a bad choice. But based on what we have, I think any quarterback that could hit the open market, you got to be a little bit more confident in them. So coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you a bold take that I have, and it's going to be a very unpopular opinion. Stafford over Sam makes more sense, though. I don't disagree.
But it's just what's the likelihood of getting Stafford?
Yeah, getting
the whole point.
Again, maybe you're just tuning into the show, but what if the Rams don't trade Stafford, right? If you were the Rams, would you trade Matthew Stafford or would you just pay him? Like, if you trade Matthew Stafford, you're paying him $45 million if you're the Rams.
It's like I'd rather have Baker Mayfield than Sam Darnold, but
Sure.
the Bucs aren't going to trade you Baker Mayfield.
Correct, right? Like, and if you're the Rams, you pay Matthew Stafford $49 million, he's on your team, or you pay Matthew Stafford $45 million and he plays for another team. Like that logic alone makes me think that the Rams are going to keep him.
I think the only way that happens is the Rams get a insane trade package where it's
if you offered the Rams your first overall or your first round pick this year, honestly, they probably would do it. I don't want to give up my first round pick for Matthew Stafford.
Why for yes and for no? Would you give up pick number 6 for Stafford?
No.
Why for yes and for no? Let me know in the chat, because I agree, Mitch. I think that's the only way they do it, where they're like, oh, you know what? We'll take the $40 million hit if we can get the number 6 pick.
Yep. I mean, and again, if you're the Rams, if you're the Raiders, that number 6 overall pick has to be used on your future. Like anything the Raiders are doing, future.
You also have to think this with Matthew Stafford. He's been awesome. He's been great. At any point, his just elbow could fall out.
He's had some bad arm issues, dude.
He was a pitcher in high school. He was a baseball player a long time.
Yep.
Throwing the ball a long time. Look at Drew Brees. Dude, Drew Brees can't even throw the ball 15 yards now.
Oh, his shoulder's really bad. He had shoulder surgery.
I'm saying this. Stafford's the same way with his elbow.
No, he's got
the more he plays on it, the worse it's going to be after his time in football is done. That's just a fact. You know, like throwing the ball as much as Stafford's done in his career, the arm angles that he uses.
Yeah.
Like
your UCL muscle, and again, for any pitcher out there, when you watch Stafford throw, that extra snap that he does at the end because his arm is so strong, do that right now. I mean, you can kind of see it even in my arm. What, me?
No, Gary said I'd give up my wife and her sister.
So would probably Oak. Oak's like, I would trade my wife and her husband. I'm moving on from him. All right, y'all, let's get into the final segment here on today's show, and it's going to be a bold take. But I want all y'all to remember this video because, again, I don't believe in a lot of the quarterbacks out there. I believe in this Raiders staff. That's the important message before we get into the show right now. I got a bold take for the entire NFL world out there, and you know what? For Raider Nation as well. The Raiders are the best destination for any quarterback hitting free agency or looking for another chance. Maybe that's a trade. Maybe that's a Matthew Stafford. Maybe it's an Aaron Rodgers. Maybe it's a Derek Carr. Whether it's Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, I'll be honest, no matter what the Raiders decide to do this offseason, there's a lot of uncertainty at the quarterback position, and I don't have a lot of confidence in any quarterback that's linked to the Raiders. What I have confidence in is this Raiders coaching staff and front office, and that is why this is a great destination, and I can't wait to prove it to y'all. Before I prove it to y'all, though, huge shout out to our sponsor, Panda Sups. Use code FKC. Spam it down below. 25% off at pandasups.com. That link's down in the comments, down in the description. If you're trying to bulk up a little bit and get into better shape in the year 2025, Panda Sups, they got you covered. So it's not a secret. The Raiders desperately need a quarterback this offseason. They're going to be moving on from Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. When you pay somebody like Chip Kelly the amount of money they did, they are bringing in a quarterback in free agency, whether it's trade or they're going to sign somebody. And it's not a shocker. Every quarterback under the sun right now has been linked to the Raiders. Look at any Vegas odds out there. The silver and black are top 3 in odds for Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins. It doesn't matter. It's because it's Las Vegas. It's the Las Vegas Raiders, and they know that the Raiders are going to be aggressive and need a quarterback. But I'm here to tell you this, that the Raiders are a great landing spot this offseason for anybody looking for a chance. Now, I want these quarterbacks to see that the Raiders are a great destination, because I think a lot of times people think of the Raiders and they go, oh man, if I was a quarterback, I would never want to go there. I promise you this, and I want people to share this video on Twitter, share this video on Instagram, share it on Facebook, send a text message to somebody. To me, the more and more people that see this, I hope that it does come across to Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, a Russell Wilson, any quarterback, Matthew Stafford, and they go, you know what? I agree with a lot of the things that guy said, and I would love an opportunity, maybe a team-friendly deal, to go play for the Raiders. Seriously, though, hit that subscribe button, share. I know I can be loud, but I know we're a lot louder all together. Let's go to the first reason why I think the Raiders are a great quarterback destination. You get to learn from Tom Brady. And learning from Tom Brady is something that is going to be able to help you now, and it's going to help you for the rest of your entire career because it's going to make you better. Whether it makes you better from a X's and O's standpoint, maybe it makes you better as a player. And you know what? All the time, people are talking about life after football. Anybody that wants to coach, maybe wants to get involved in football later on down the road, you put, hey, I got to learn underneath Tom Brady on a resume. Every single person looking for a job, looking for somebody is going to take you based on the fact that you were able to work with somebody like Tom Brady. Also, he's had success with 2 different organizations. He had success in New England, arguably the greatest dynasty of all time, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, but he was able to prove that, you know what? I was able to take what I learned in New England. I was also able to win a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, and they got this I'm not effing around type of mentality, and he's clearly heavily involved in what the Raiders are doing. So knowing that he's going to be heavily involved, that means whatever quarterback gets brought in, you're going to be working side by side with Tom Brady. That's a huge, huge selling point, man. Let's go to another reason here of why I think the Raiders are a great quarterback destination. Let's talk about track record, right? A lot of times people are like, oh, I'm scared of XYZ QB because it's an unknown commodity. Any quarterback the Raiders bring in this offseason is risk, and it's an unknown commodity. But what can I rely on? What can I lean back on? Track record. John Spytek's track record of what he's been able to prove in the front office with quarterbacks needs to be looked at. And if I'm a QB, I'm looking at what he's been able to do. He's been great with journeyman quarterbacks, been great with bridge QBs, and no matter what quarterback the Raiders decide to trade or sign in free agency, it's going to be a bridge. You're going to be a little bit of a journeyman quarterback. He was a big reason why Baker Mayfield's the Bucs QB. Think about right now how many people would have said, no, I don't want to go out and get Baker Mayfield because he's an unknown commodity. He just threw for 41 touchdowns last season. I get Sam Darnold as a risk. But what if Sam Darnold turns into the next Baker Mayfield? That's a potential top 10 quarterback. He was also the one that got Brady to go down to Tampa Bay. I get it that they were teammates at Michigan, but Brady, if you all remember, was contemplating, New England. He was looking at all these different teams, and then it was kind of random, I thought. He went down to Tampa Bay. It's because of John flipping Spytek. So let's look at Tom Brady's last 4 years in the NFL. Remember when everyone was saying Tom Brady's washed at 40-something years old, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions? Guess what he does the following year? Goes down to Tampa Bay, throws for 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, wins a Super Bowl in 2021, and then I get it. At the end of his career, he was old, and you could tell he was old, but 25 touchdowns and 9 interceptions is still one of the best quarterback seasons the Raiders would have had in a long time. But then let's also go look at what Baker Mayfield was able to do in his last 4 seasons. This past year in Tampa Bay, unbelievable. In 2023, had a much better season. But look at 2022. Look at 2021. If I'm a journeyman quarterback, if I'm hitting the open market, you're telling me I get to go work with John Spytek, Tom Brady, a duo that was able to prove that they're able to help out every quarterback that touches their hands and is able to win a Super Bowl? If that doesn't interest you, well, maybe somebody like Pete Carroll and his track record is going to be able to interest you. Pete Carroll is a professional, and I'm telling you this right now, there is already so many rumblings about how well the Raiders are going to be ran from top to bottom, because when you bring in somebody like Pete Carroll, it's going to change things. Then you put the mindset of Carroll with the X's and O's standpoint of Tom Brady, John Spytek, and Chip Kelly. That's fun. Carroll is also one of 3 coaches to win a national championship and a Super Bowl. So he can, look at talent in college. You can look at talent at the NFL level. He helped Russell Wilson, a quarterback that was drafted in the 3rd round, get his career going. He also rejuvenated Geno Smith's career when everybody said Geno Smith is washed. Geno Smith's a multi-million-dollar quarterback now. Thank you very much, Pete Carroll. But you know what? I love trivia. And I figured I wanted to do some stuff a little bit different now it's the off season. So I got a question for you. Can you name the other 2 coaches who won a national championship and Super Bowl? And I'm going to give bonus points to people that can name the teams that they're on, because there's only been 3. and Pete Carroll is one of them. The answer at the end of the show. Let's keep it rolling here, though, of what Carroll was able to do for Russell Wilson. And you look at the stats that Wilson has with Pete Carroll. This is 158 games played, 292 touchdowns, 87 interceptions, and a Super Bowl win. Oh, Wilson left Seattle, and everybody thought it was going to be able to work in Denver. Don't get me wrong, Nathaniel Hackett was not great, but neither was Wilson. And you can look at the numbers there on screen. Took a little bit of a step back once he was, not with Pete Carroll. Wilson did get better in Pittsburgh this past season, but still was not nearly as good as what we've seen from Wilson underneath Pete Carroll. And you could also say, it could be the OCs, Mitch. I mean, there was multiple different OCs with Pete Carroll and different OCs with Pittsburgh, different OCs in Denver. The one Russell Wilson, when he has looked his best, it was with, guess who? Somebody by the name of Pete Carroll. But you know what? I didn't want to just look at that. I also wanted to be able to sit back and look at Geno Smith, because Geno Smith is more of that bridge quarterback, and I get it. He's not a free agent right now, but there is at least an opportunity that Geno Smith could end up being a quarterback. And I want to look at Geno before and I want to look at Geno after. So when you look at Geno before, the 6 years before he met Pete Carroll, and then the 5 years after he met Pete Carroll, okay? So I will admit, the 5 years after that, one of those years, Pete was not there, but I still am a believer when you sit down and you talk to Carroll, he can really slow the game down and help you get a lot better. So 6 years for Geno Smith. Look at the numbers. 29 touchdowns, 36 interceptions, and a career record of 12-19. Then he meets Pete Carroll. Completion percentage drastically up. Yards obviously up. Touchdowns to interception ratio, it's not close. A lot of times players need somebody that goes to bat for them, a player that can inspire confidence. And Pete Carroll is somebody that's going to give you a lot of confidence. Let's look at the last 4 years for Geno. And the only thing that I want you to look at is the year 2024, no Pete Carroll. 2023, 2022, 2021, all with Pete Carroll. And I say that because the leaps and bounds of how much better Geno was in those 2 years in 2023 and 2022 compared to the way that he was in 2024, it needs to be noted. And why? It's not always easy to be able to sit down and explain everything, but when you see how much success all these coaches have had with multiple different quarterbacks, with multiple different skill sets, it's just a little bit of a cherry on top of why I think the Raiders are actually a great landing spot for any quarterback out there. So how about this? Go down to the comments section. Who are you hoping is the Raiders quarterback in 2025? Maybe it's your birthday like Marianne. Happy birthday, Marianne. I just lit a whole bunch of candles. Close your eyes right now and make a wish. Who are you hoping is the Raiders quarterback in 2025? My answer after this YouTube ad break. It's Cam Ward for me. To me, this is the number one quarterback that I've wanted. And I know we've talked so much about free agency. It's because free agency is right around the corner. I don't know if Cam's going to be available. Quite frankly, I think the only way you're going to be able to get him is if you trade up. And I don't think it's going to cost nearly as much as what people think to go up and get him. But I'm hoping the Raiders go out and get Cam Ward. However, though, I don't think this is even a top 5 likely option. I know the Raiders are going to sign a quarterback, and then I also believe that they're going to draft one. If you want to see which quarterbacks I think the top 5 QBs are for Chip Kelly and this offense, this video, here's the thumbnail. It's down in the comments. It's in the description of today's show. If you also want to see what the top QBs I think that the Raiders could take, these are not QBs based on how I have them ranked. They are based on the likelihood of joining the silver and black. Offense, Chip Kelly, draft, free agency, both options down in the comments section. It's also why you should subscribe. Let's keep it moving here, though. Speaking of Chip Kelly, you get to work with him. And the amount of different quarterbacks, the amount of different offenses, the mindset that Kelly has is got to be a fun one to work with. Dude just won a national championship with Will Howard. And I don't want to rip on Will Howard at all because there's a chance the Raiders could draft him. But at the same time, I think Will Howard's the worst. Stetson Bennett just won a title too, though. I mean, you're talking about QBs that aren't great NFL QBs, but they're able to go out there and win. And the fact that Kelly was able to make Will Howard look as good as what he did, again, that's a compliment to Chip. But this is somebody that's got head coaching experience, NFL, and in college. Got plenty of OC experience with multiple, again, different quarterbacks. But the fact that he's been able to win with dudes like Marcus Mariota to Will Howard to, Nick I mean, all these different types of QBs. If I'm a quarterback, I don't think it matters what my skill set is. I'm going to be able to get the job done, right? Where, you don't have to worry about a Josh McDaniels and he's got a square peg and he's going to try to fit it into a triangle. Chip Kelly's going to take his offense, he's going to take what you do well, and he's going to put you in the best situation to succeed. You can say what you want about the head coach, Chip Kelly, but the offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, combine that with the head coach, Pete Carroll, combined with Tom Brady and John Spytek. I don't know if there's too many other better comparisons or better regimes out there that aren't named like Andy Reid, Sean McVay, and Shanahan, quite frankly. Let's go to another reason here. Greg Olsen. He is a great quarterback coach, and he's the Raiders quarterback coach. He has OC experience, and this isn't somebody that I want drawing up plays, but I'm a believer that smart coaches do smart things. Do you agree with that? I think I would. And I agree that Pete Carroll is a smart coach. I know we bring up the name John Gruden a lot, but John Gruden is a respected coach. Not somebody that I want making draft decisions, free agency decisions, or calling plays, but I do think Gruden is a respectable name as a coach and X's and O's and just working with quarterbacks. So Gruden rehired Olsen multiple times. Pete Carroll brought in Greg Olsen multiple times. Sean McVay brought in Greg Olsen in 2022. When you work with quarterbacks like Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, Geno Smith, he is one of the best quarterback coaches in the NFL. So even if you don't love any of the options out there, I don't know how you don't look at this Raiders coaching staff and not show a little bit of confidence in them being able to bring in whoever it is, because I think no matter who they bring in, this quarterback's going to have arguably the best season that they've ever had of their career, unless it's like Russell Wilson or something like that. So before we get into the final 3 points here of why I really do believe Las Vegas is a good destination, sleeper alert here. Panda Sups, y'all are sleeping on them. Maybe it's because you got their sleepy products, but I do want to tell you about a bunch, and I mean a bunch of the products that you can get over at Panda Sups. Go to pandasups.com, use code FKC for 25% off. If you want to shop all of their products, whether it's protein, to the nootropics, to the sleep aid, to the recovery. Right now, the products that I use every day, the sleep aid, if I really need a good night's sleep, which I might need tonight because there was a hell of a thunderstorm in Dallas and it kept me up a little bit. Maybe you want some Panda gear. Bottom line, maybe you want to try some of their best sellers. This is a company that I want you to get what works for you, because what works for me, it might not work for you. If you're somebody where you're like, all I need, Mitch, is some motivation to go to the gym, that's why a lot of their best sellers are pre-workout. It's some of the strongest pre-workout I've ever had. I drink a lot of caffeine. You guys probably already know that. I would take a half scoop of that stuff, and it's going to get the job done. If anybody out there spends more than $100 or more, he's going to hook you up. When I say he's a Raiders fan that owns Panda Sups. He's also going to hook you up with that drawstring bag and a shaker as well. They come in a whole bunch of different colors. I don't know which color he's going to give you. I would imagine if you use code FKC, he's not going to give you a red one, because their colors are black, white, and red. And I'm not kidding you. I was literally one of the first people. I was like, dude, I need a shaker that's like no red in it. And he makes some that are no red in them at all. They're available. You can get your hands on them. I love Panda, and I think that you guys will too. Pandasups.com, code FKC for 25% off. Let's keep it moving here. Why, though? If I was a quarterback, okay, I gave you all the reasons from a front office, the coaching standpoint. If I'm coming to the Raiders, though, I want to win right away. The Raiders are going to be aggressive. Pete Carroll's already said that this is going to be an aggressive team. So I would want to go to a team that's got a lot of money. And I would look at a team like the Commanders last season, who had the most money in free agency, had a lot of draft picks, and they were able to make a change quickly. The Raiders can also make a change quickly. You got the second most money, whether you want to look at over the cap or Spotrac. Both numbers are very similar. Second most money in salary cap space. Also, off the top of my head right now, based on certain contracts, I think I'd be able to create $10 to $15 to $20 million just moving on from certain players, whether cut, trade, what have you. And these are videos that I will end up doing probably later on this week or next week. But you know they're going to be aggressive, and you know that they have money to be able to build around you. So if I'm sitting there going, all right, well, I want to have the certain pieces around me, they're going to build an offensive line, dude. And that's going to be great for whatever quarterback ends up coming in. Let's go to another reason. You got 10 total draft picks. For the Raiders to have 10 picks and all that money, if I was a brand new quarterback, I would sit there and I would look at all the holes and I'd say, You know, well, if I believe Tom Brady's smart, I think Tom Brady's pretty smart. I think Pete Carroll's pretty smart with football. All right, John Spytek, pretty smart with football. Chip Kelly, pretty smart with football. Patrick Graham, pretty smart with football. Everybody that I just named there, we're all like, oh, yeah, they're pretty smart with football. You're giving them all the money in the world and total draft picks to go out and do their thing. I don't know how you're not fired up about that situation. You got at least one pick in every round. You got 3 picks in round 6, and if it was me, I'm trying to move up into the draft. You got 10 total picks, which gives you a chance to fill depth if you're going out and signing a few big-name guys in free agency. And if you sign a quarterback, you know, you're going to have those 10 picks because you might not have as much money to be able to fill up all those holes. But 5 picks in the top 107, 4 picks in the top 73. These are little details of little building blocks that help you get to that mountain. And that mountain is the Super Bowl. That mountain, though, is also trying to take down Patrick Mahomes, and even though they are not the defending Super Bowl champs anymore, you got to look at what the Philadelphia Eagles did, and you got to go, how can I rebuild that blueprint? You can do it in one off season, and the Raiders have an opportunity. And here is the final reason, and I love this picture, Chuggs. If I'm a quarterback, I honestly could say this. Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, if you sign with the Raiders, I think you got nothing to lose and everything to gain. As somebody who has covered this team and has seen the way that the NFL media talks about the Raiders, hell, sees even the way that Raiders fans talk about the Raiders, and I'm not kidding you, if this happens, like I honestly think people with Gardner Minshew are going to go, oh, it wasn't Gardner Minshew's fault. It was Luke Getsy's fault. It was the Raiders' fault. And it's why I think that it's all upside, because if any quarterback comes to the Raiders, and like, let's be honest, because I think everybody knows this deep down, if a quarterback comes to the Raiders and they fail, they're going to go, well, that's just the Raiders being a bad organization. That's just the Raiders. They're a bad franchise. They're bad. It's not the player. It's the Raiders. The quarterback stock, though, is going to rise because no matter what, if you put on your resume that you worked with Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, John Spytek, Chip Kelly, and Greg Olsen, it's already been proven by some of the best coaches in the NFL that all those names hold extreme weight, and there's going to be a team that would give you another chance. And then if you win, holy shit, if you win in the AFC West, a division that's got Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and the AFC, nonetheless, that's got all of these great teams. Imagine the paycheck that you're going to get on your next deal. Imagine the respect that you're going to get around the league. To me, I look at this Raiders job, and I look at it as all upside. And that's really the truth, man. So here is why the Raiders is a great destination for any free agent quarterback, any quarterback looking for a trade, any QB looking for another opportunity. You get the opportunity to learn from Tom Brady. Look at John Spytek's track record with quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield, TB12 himself, Pete Carroll's track record with Geno Smith, Russell Wilson. You could also work with Chip Kelly, a great X's and O's guys. You pair that with Pete Carroll, John Spytek, Tom Brady, and then you also throw in a name like Greg Olsen, who's been hired by Sean McVay, who's worked with John Gruden, who's also worked with Pete Carroll. You got the second most money in salary cap for free agents. You got 10 total draft picks, and if you don't succeed, people will blame the Raiders, not you. If you win in the AFC West and that division, I'm telling you this right now, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain, and that is the reason why the Raiders are low-key a great destination for any quarterback out there looking to prove himself for another team. If you made it this far in the video, and you agree that the Raiders are a great spot, I want you to click that like button. It helps us out a lot. Also, I got to tell you our trivia, because here's the thing. Can you name the 2 other coaches who won a national championship and Super Bowl? One of them is Pete Carroll, USC, and also the Raiders. No, the Seattle Seahawks. Someday, I'm hoping that Pete Carroll is the first to win a natty and 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams. The other people are as followed. Jimmy Johnson, one with the U in Dallas, and then Barry Switzer, one with Oklahoma, and also the Dallas Cowboys. If you Googled this answer, you're going to get the wrong answer because Google, the AI, is dumb. And they said that Jim Harbaugh is the 4th, but they also said Jim Harbaugh won the Super Bowl for the Ravens. AI, Google, very, very wrong. Appreciate everyone tuning in to today's show. If you like the trivia and you want to see more trivia, spam trivia down below. Because, again, for people that make it this far in the video, these are the people that I like to make happy. These are my real ones, and I always love my real ones. Who are you hoping is the Raiders quarterback in 2025? Let me know down below. Also, got a super chat coming in from Navman. Even though I actually think we have a few more that we have to get to
Yeah,
on
I think
top
we got
of
a
that.
couple during.
Somebody said anyone. Can't control anyone. Jackson Dart. I mean, so again, if the Raiders draft Dart, he won't start. To me, the only quarterback that the Raiders would consider starting in the draft is Cam Ward. Like, if they drafted Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, all those QBs wouldn't start in 2025. Like, no matter what, the Raiders are going to add a quarterback in free agency. I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen. No matter what quarterback they draft, unless it's Cam Ward, won't start this year. They're going to sit at least a year. So, to the Jackson Dart community, it's not the right answer because Dart won't start in 2025.
The Jackson Dart community.
Well, any quarterback in the draft that people are saying that's the guy I want to start in 2025, unless that name's Cam Ward, it's not going to happen. I'm just telling you. Sam is a bad choice. We already got that one. Stafford over Sam makes more sense, though. We already answered that one. Is Baker Mayfield a franchise quarterback? I don't see how you say he's not. Right? I mean, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Follows it up with 41 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Now, he's going to lose his OC and Liam Cohen, so he's going to have to, test out some new waters here a little bit. But, I mean, he just won his division. He's won a playoff game. I mean, the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, last season, beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs. Team that just won the Super Bowl, right? I mean, and I get it. The Eagles last year are very different, especially at the end of the season. But I don't know how you don't consider Baker Mayfield a franchise quarterback. He's not old. Yeah. He was drafted number 1 overall, right? Like, if the Bucs would have drafted Baker Mayfield number 1 overall the year he came out, and he's putting up the numbers that he's putting up right now, it wouldn't even be a conversation. But Mayfield also got better. I think you make an argument Baker Mayfield's top 12 quarterback right now.
Top 12?
Baker Mayfield or Trevor Lawrence?
Mayfield.
I agree. Baker Mayfield or Dak Prescott?
Dak. The only thing that
I don't know.
the only reason I would lean Baker is because of health.
Health, contract.
If we're only talking,
I guess my point, if we're even having that conversation, he's a franchise quarterback.
If we're only talking skill level,
Baker or Derek,
Dak.
It's Baker, and it's not close. Baker or Derek, it's not close.
Yeah.
Baker or Kirk Cousins, Baker. Baker or Geno Smith, Baker. Baker or Russell Wilson, Baker. Baker or Justin Fields, Baker. Baker or Sam Darnold, Baker.
Oh, this past season.
I'm saying if I'm going forward.
Baker Mayfield or Brock Purdy?
Baker Mayfield. I would take Baker Mayfield over Brock Purdy. I think if Baker Mayfield's the quarterback of the Niners, they win that Super Bowl.
Nah.
No?
Nah.
Okay.
I think Brock Purdy, I think he gets, a lot of people are like, I think people doubt him. Mm-hmm. Even no matter what he does.
People do doubt him.
People talk about him because he has Kyle Shanahan as his coach and he has a good team around him. They discredit everything he does.
I think Brock Purdy is the Nick Sirianni of quarterbacks, where probably one of the most disrespected guys that wins.
Last year, who had the best downfield throwing percentage, best completion percentage, adjusted percentage on down the field throws, 20-plus yards? It was Brock Purdy, and number 2 was C.J. Stroud.
I'll also say this, though. The 49ers had a stupid amount of talent around Purdy. And I get it. They had a lot of injuries. But when the Niners didn't have the talent, Purdy looked very human. Like, very basic. He did. I mean, this past year, he looked very basic quarterback.
Yeah.
And I get it. Debo got fat. Brandon Ayuk wasn't nearly as good.
Got fat.
I mean, he did, dude. Debo Samuel's fat. I saw a picture of him at the Super Bowl. He's fat. I'm in better shape. If I take off my shirt, and I'm in better shape than Debo Samuel. Looks-wise.
Oh, I was going to say.
Looks-wise. Now, man, if
I don't know if you want that smoke.
Oh, I know Debo would tie me in a pretzel. But at the same time, Debo's kind of fat. If A-Rod wears silver and black, it would kill my will to live. Jesus, selfless quarterback is the goal. That's head A-Rod. He wrecks locker rooms. It's all about him, always, and hasn't won anything for years. I agree with you, man, where, I don't see how, as an organization, you can sit up there and say, like, we want to build stability, we want to build our locker room, and we're trying to build a great team. I don't see how you say any of those words and then go out and get Aaron Rodgers. I don't like that. Doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
That and we all agree. If Aaron Rodgers was good, like if Aaron Rodgers was still a top 10 quarterback, you might be able to ignore it a little bit. Aaron Rodgers or Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's a better quarterback right now than Aaron Rodgers. But like that's not a crazy statement. Aaron Rodgers isn't good. Is he a top 20 quarterback?
He's high on shrooms.
Hopefully. David, been doing a lot of scouting, a lot of independent athletic leaders in college. I've been mainly focusing on scouting. Also, many Raiderette members can be added next season. Rubio, I think you've been doing too much scouting and not enough typing. I mean, I love when people, and I want people to like watch tape. I want people to scout, figure out ways to make the Raiders better. Because there's a lot of times like you guys say stuff, and in my mind I'm like, oh wow, like that makes a lot of sense.
Raider Scout.
Scout's one of my buddies. Yeah. Though I'm not quite sure where we're going with this. And I feel bad because you sent in $10, but I'm not quite sure. Mike says, why should I turn on notifications? Because if breaking news happens, I don't want you to miss it. Also, I think everybody that watches this show has got their noties on. People that are watching this show right now, I would imagine half the people watching have their noties on. If you have your noties on, spam me. If you're part of the Noti gang, spam Noti gang.
Except for that guy that I was fighting with during your segment.
Yeah, that guy. I don't know who that was.
Did you see it?
No. I really don't pay attention while I'm like doing that. Meant I was scouting. Oh.
Got it.
All right. Well, I don't know any of the Raiderettes personally, though. One of our watchers here, I hope that his daughter is a Raiderette in the future. She's really young right now, though. Frankie, Mitch, I'm here, bruh. You see me? Frankie, bruh, I see you. All right, y'all. That's all I got for everybody on tap today. Seriously, appreciate all the questions. Appreciate all the comments. Can we get to 800 likes? We're about 10 away right now. The next time that you are going to see me live, I know I will be live next Tuesday, no doubt about it. I don't know if Chuggs and I are going to be able to go live Thursday. I want to try to go live on Thursday this week. I will not be live on Friday because it's Valentine's Day. So if we do go live again, it'll be Thursday. I will try to let y'all know either tomorrow or Thursday morning. So just subscribe, turn on your notifications. That way you don't miss it. Just because we got a lot of moving parts here. Am I a Drake fan? I like Drake, yeah. Is that bad? I don't want to like Drake right now?
Did you not watch the halftime show?
I mean, just because it was a good halftime show doesn't mean I can't like his music.
I think the point they're saying is, hey Drake, I heard you like him young.
Oh, I mean, I like Drake's music. I obviously don't really know anything. I mean, if there's anybody that I don't follow pop culture, I'll tell you that I like Drake's music. That's what I'll say.
Can we just separate the artist from the art?
Well, no, I don't want to go that far. I mean, it's just like think about how many great NFL players there are, but there's a lot really shitty human beings. There's a lot of those guys. So, just saying. All right, I'm getting the heck out of here. Appreciate everyone tuning in.
It's probably A minor.
You know what, though? I still listen to his music. I'm not going to lie to y'all. From Jeremy Chuggs, make sure you subscribe. I'll probably see you guys again on Thursday. If not, we'll keep you updated. Hopefully everyone has a happy Valentine's Day. I almost said Merry birthday. Happy birthday to Mary Ann. Appreciate you, Rebel. From Chuggs, I'm getting out of here. Peace.